let's give this a try. Let me see if we're live. Give me a thumbs up if sounds okay. Had to kind of jiggle around with StreamYard. Let me get the other camera going over there as well. You guys can hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Okay. So the last live stream, we've obviously done that on the phone, cell phone. So it was microphone or sound was like in and out. Kind of want to break this up. I have two cameras going. One is on the machine, as you guys can see. We'll get to machining live. We'll give a rolling gamble here. You know, I'm not one to live on my knees, so we have obviously rights, and I'm going to express those rights. I do have to say that I am going to try to use other streaming services out there, like let's say TikTok. Looks like TikTok is a little bit more lenient on firearms. So what I would like you guys to do is search DP Gunworks on TikTok if you have the app. Subscribe. I need 1,000 subscribers in order to go live on TikTok. So let me get that link and put it in the comments there. And I'd appreciate it if you guys go on there and do subscribe on that so I could go live on TikTok. We'll give that a try. I know there's other streaming service or other platforms out there, but honestly, YouTube has the most views. It's pretty much convenient for everybody. But we will, let me get the link and post it. So this would be my TikTok account. If we get that to 1K, I'll be able to go live there. I'll be able to basically express my Second Amendment rights. Shouldn't have any issues there. So that's the link. I appreciate if you guys head on there. Yeah. Everything today that I've been doing is working on the Genesis actions. What's on the machine right now is a barrel for a Genesis action. We will get to that. Excited. There is a few on the wall. There's one. There's another one. This is actually a client of ours. That has a cobalt blue, I believe, is the gun candy. And I actually got done testing that rifle just today. This one is DPG number 1. So that one is the number 1 action that I made. There is a few more. There's one on the lathe, like I said, another action that's halfway built. We're working on a barrel on that one. I am trying to knock these things out as fast as I can. Excited because we have machinery coming. Had a little delay, had a little, just can't predict everything. But our DNXs are delayed, so we'll see when those come in the shop. Obviously, if you guys were following my channel, we got the new Sile VMC 4-axis vertical milling center, and then we have possibly a 5-axis that should be showing up in our shop, which I'm excited to get into that. Possibly a Mazak. I want to really give a lot of things out, but if I get to a 5-axis, we'll be able to really shine. It'll be a learning curve for me. Somehow I managed to learn the Cinemeric controller on the Sile machine pretty quick. I'm not really happy with that machine, but it is a growing pain that I'm learning to operate. So we are hiring as well. So our shop, DP Gunworks, we're hiring machine operators, machine programmers. We're located in Lake Havasu. If you're in the area, around the area, we're definitely looking to look into your application, utilize your expertise, grow with us, and we definitely have a huge exciting journey ahead of us that's coming up pretty soon. Let's see what's here, who's here. We have, starting from the top, We got Alaska Andy, thanks for joining. Mr. Uncle Jim, Greg Sheehan, Christoph, Stifler Manufacturing. Oh, what's up, Stifler Manufacturing? He's actually here in Arizona as well. He actually makes a lot of Glock slides. You guys got to check his channel out. He goes live as well. Nikolai, what's up, Nikolai? Taylor Moon, what's up, brother? Good to see you. I'm glad we've conversed on a few chats there. I know you're patiently waiting. We are getting there. We're asking everybody to check out, just give us some time to transition. This is a huge step for us to becoming a manufacturer, and this does take time. We're excelling really, really fast in doing so. We have a big game plan. This is based off my experience in other manufacturing industries, aerospace and all that I've seen. But to get the machinery in our hands, we're talking not just a couple $1,000s. I mean, these are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as a small mom and pop family-owned business, that's a lot of responsibility and investment to come up with. So for us, we're growing. We're doing everything we can on our own. We are not outsourcing any of these parts. And that, honestly, I guess this will be opinionated on my end. When you start outsourcing your product, you can't control the quality, no matter how you see fit. Doesn't matter if that company is a top lead manufacturer. They have other contracts in the industry that they also have to abide by. Just like us, we have our own clientele and we have our own products we have to provide for that clientele. So does that manufacturer. When you start outsourcing everything, it takes a lot more time to make changes in a product that has issues. It takes a lot more time and considerable amount of energy and manpower to keep up with the quality control of that product. Things change. You're relying on their operators, you're relying on their machinery and tooling to provide that kind of quality. So I'm against outsourcing unless it's needed for small parts. You can't control everything, but the main components of your product should always be made in-house. I've seen failure, and in this industry, there's obviously a lot of manufacturers out there in our own field that are outsourcing, and I wish them luck. I mean, that's all I can really say. But I just know in the long run, when you just rely on outsourcing products, outsourcing manufacturing, you are going to come up with a problem, and you're going to have a manufacturer defect. You're going to deal with a lot of issues, ups and downs. So anybody that's doing that, it's tough. What I'm trying to say is, coming out with your own products and outsourcing is very tough. Manufacturing industry is a huge, huge gamble. So again, yeah, we got new CNCs coming. We're going to try to operate both. We got adjustable recoil lugs on the style right now set up. I made a bunch of the coins, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. And we're going to do a barrel. Wanted to see, what do you guys want to like actually get into behind the scenes here? Do you want to build a CZ 457 today from start to finish? I mean, depending how long this live chat is, I could go from what I'm seeing from a fresh new CZ 457 rifle, going through the inspection process that I perform. I mean, these are brand new rifles, never unboxed. I'm just going to basically grab one, show you what I'm looking at. Or if you guys want to go with building a barrel for a Genesis, I could kind of show you what I do that's a little bit different as far as our shop, utilizing the CNC equipment and rigidity of those machines, but also the hand fitting operation that's still behind the scenes here that I do. We'll get some votes in. I got one guy for a CZ 457. Thirsty Tree, what's up? Let's see. I know you're very particular to pay attention to detail. Your efforts will be worth it. I believe that. I appreciate that, man. The thing about it is to stay humble also. Like, we have to learn together. That's why I always say learn precision together. That's what my channel is really about. There's professional shooters that attacked me because of my Pittsburgh calipers. It's funny about that because the company that makes Pittsburgh calipers also makes Mitutoyo overseas. So, if you don't know, you don't know. So there's a lot of tools out there in the market that you don't have to jump on name brand, but if you do the research and your legwork, you're going to see that a lot of the Chinese tools that we get, even Snap-on, I mean, you'd be surprised. Snap-on, it really isn't USA made like they keep claiming. There are a lot of Chinese parts that get imported and then get marked up and then rebranded for the high-end name brands. But, you know, the typical micrometers and small tools that we use in the machining industry is really all made in probably a dozen manufacturers overseas that make tools for multiple vendors, high-end vendors, and it's just the quality control is what you're really paying for, not to mention the name brand. So the Pittsburgh calipers, the traditional, we're talking analog calipers, they're actually pretty good. I've purchased and I've tried these over the last 5 years. They actually are very repeatable and they're very accurate. So you don't have to buy a $400 Minatoyo caliper if you're into reloading. Harbor Freight does have those, and there's nothing wrong using those. Start off with whatever you can afford. There's really nothing wrong about doing so. I got guy for a Genesis barrel. Okay, we could probably do both. I could show, like I said, I just wrapped this barrel up. We did the chambering, and I don't know if I could really show it. Let's see how I could make this thing wide. Solo layout. Yeah, we wrapped up the chamber and all that on this barrel and the extractor cuts. Kind of unique features, which, you know, there's nothing really secretive about this industry, but there is a unique feature on this barrel and how it locks up to the action, which I think improves reliability and accuracy. So I could show that feature on that barrel specifically. We are looking into anybody in this industry that builds or is a gunsmith, well-known shop, reputable shop that has the machinery, know-how, and customer service equal, if not better than ours, to acquire as a dealer for our Genesis actions. So we're working with 2 shops right now. We have Thermal Suppressors and H&W Guns and Tactical. They're great friends of mine as well. I mean, we've worked in this industry pretty much the same amount of time, 6-7 years plus, and I have seen nothing but great quality work come out with them, and I could vouch that their quality work is either as equal, if not better than mine. So we got Matthew Brown, what's up? Vanessa Kitty, what's up? Yep, let's see, hello from Ohio. Build high-end production equipment that goes all over the world. Yeah, I use Harbor Freight Snap-on. Thanks, brother. I appreciate sharing that. Yeah, you'd be surprised, like I said. There's a lot of tools out there that actually are really, really good, and you don't have to break the bank. Now, obviously, I'm not skipping out on the main tools, which will be the CNC machines. DN Solutions is a very high-end CNC manufacturer. It was formerly Doosan. DN Solutions is now rebranded. I'm not sure if management was changed around. However, they continue to put out this specific turn mill. It's basically a turning center with milling capabilities. That's what a turn mill is one of the most, I think it's still the top selling turn mill CNC out there. I mean, you'll see a lot of shops, a lot of gunsmiths have this specific turn mill. It's a Lynx 2100 LSY, or they will step up to the 24 or 2600. The next model up from this is the Puma series, which has a more rigid boxway lathe and more rigid turning capabilities as well as milling capabilities. The downside to this kind of machine is that the milling capabilities is done by live tools, which I can show that in a little bit. They're basically live tool centers. They are not interchangeable tools like a typical VMC where you have the Cat 40, Cat 30, or BMT 30 holders which swap out. Those BMT holders are actually a lot cheaper as well. The live tools, being only one station and one tool, they cost anywhere between $7,000 to $12,000 on a live tool. So they're very expensive. And I do have about 9 live tools on that machine. So the tooling on that machine is very expensive. So that's why we are looking into the DNX machine. That's the one that we were waiting on. And then possibly integrating some 5-axis machines here. So Where does he get those toys? Yeah, Uncle Jim. So Uncle Jim, he actually got a pretty cool channel. You guys got to check him out as well. Very funny. But him and his son, they're like, they're honestly, I think they're geniuses. They make and innovate by themselves. His son makes knives, but they actually fix and come up with solutions for all kinds of firearms, and have a way for you guys to enjoy your typical firearms, get into cast lead shooting. That's something that I still do. I don't do a lot of, but it's a skill trait that I think many are falling or failing to have anymore. It's kind of falling off the market. Being able to cast your own lead projectile, reload that lead projectile, understand the lead projectile and its obturation and key factors, you could really kind of make your own, like, I don't know, STHF style ammo, like 9mm ammo for really cheap, usually under about 15 to 20 cents a round, just by casting your own bullets. And they're actually really accurate. Compared to a full metal jacket, a cast lead projectile that is powder coated, which keeps the leading out of the bore, for like specifically a 9mm, is very cost effective. I've ran a lot of two gun competitions with those as well. But if you get into the calipers, which in the rifle cartridges, like the 300 Blackout or 8.6 Blackout or 338 Spectre or the new 338 Arc, if you cast your lead projectiles for those rounds, it is very cost effective. You could get some really cool ammunition. Full Lead Taco is another channel that I recommend, but he makes these little pea shooters for the 300 Blackout. They literally look like green peas. So he reloads these round ball, 308 caliber round ball. Call them rabbit farts, what he calls it. And they're subsonic. They make a little whizzing sound, but they're just super fun to play with and super fun to shoot. So I recommend, if you're considering or wondering about reloading and all that, we'll get into that pretty soon. When I get this product settled for 22 rimfire, I do want to get back to my roots and something I enjoy thoroughly, and that's centerfire. And I do want to get into the centerfire, building a centerfire action, jumping into the high-end F-class, possibly building my own action there. So that's kind of what I'm looking into in the future. 44 mag, yes, that is still my favorite cartridge there, Vanessa. I love the 44 mag. It just rocks. It rocks your socks, that's for sure, when you're younger. The 8.6 Blackout can hold in 1 and 3 cast lead. Yes, it can. It does. In a semi-auto, you're going to get into leading issues. To reduce that, what I found out was a bolt action 8.6 Blackout, even with a fast twist rate, very high antimony, high BHN lead. So you're looking at 20, 21, and 24 BHN. That's powder coated. It will hold up to an 8.6 Blackout 1 and 3 twist. Okay, so got a couple votes for CZ, a couple votes for a couple votes for building the Genesis barrel here. We'll definitely get into kind of both. I think what we'll do here, if YouTube permits me, is we'll build a CZ, build a bear workshop. If you guys got the hint there, I was trying to stray away from the crap YouTube policies. Little Snoop, he votes for Genesis barrel. Veterinary tech corpse, and it has its perks. Okay. Was a high point a choice? There's Measure and Grains. What's up, Mig? I have not seen you in forever, dude. How you doing, man? I'm glad to see you, brother. I need to check out any craziness you got in your channel, what you got going on lately. But I'm good to see you, man. I'm really happy to see you here. Hasbro, what's up, Hasbro? Can you easily use the Genesis action for centerfire? It's basically the same concept. So centerfire obviously is higher pressures. So when we're building an action, since I'm using high-end metal to begin with on the Genesis action, all it takes is basically putting locking lugs into the action, a bolt raceway, traditional raceway, so your locking lugs will follow that channel. Typical, I'd say mid-grade actions, mid-grade custom actions will use a broaching technique. The high-grade actions, including mine, the 22 rimfire, they're utilizing a wire EDM to cut out the inner bolt raceway geometry. So the wire EDM is always the best way. But broaching has obviously proven itself. There's a lot of action manufacturers that broach their bolt raceways, but it does leave tooling marks, and it's not as accurate as a wire EDM, obviously. So all it will take would be to take my action, figure out the geometry as far as the sear engagement, lock timing, and as well as how much camming is needed to utilize a camming traditional locking lugs. So if I go with a three lug design, or let's say we'll do like the Barrett style, which has interlocking lugs. There's a lot of options out there, and I have ideas. I don't really want to talk about it now, simply because there's a couple innovative things I want to do as well on a center fire. So when we get to that point, I think as I learn this whole industry and manufacturing, and get into the higher pressure things like center fire, I'll see what I can do to innovate that as well. What's up, Sean? Just spoke to you on the phone, brother. Six Shooter Texan. What's up, 6 Shooter Texan? He's another CNC guy there. West Covina Dodge. Good to see you there, Pat. Thanks for joining, brother. Hesaw. What's up, Hesaw? He's also another follower of Uncle Jim's channel, of course. But okay, so let's jump on to the machine here. What I'm going to do is bring up that it's basically my phone, so I should be able to see the live chat too as well with the technology we have out there. It's split screen. If anything pops up as far as sound quality, or if somehow the chat gets disconnected, you guys out there that have my number, give me a call. But basically, we are machining. It's a piece of bar stock metal, and we're going to turn that into a tool. I said, what is this? Hopefully, you can make it possible to buy extra parts. Oh yeah. So, little Snoop. This is the good thing about my action, and I'm partnered and working with Mike Bush and DDG, who is also making replacement parts. Those replacement parts that he's making is the Voodoo V22 system replacement parts. My action does utilize the Voodoo V22 firing pin assembly. So the parts that do wear out or can wear out, like the firing pin springs, it all is interchangeable with the Voodoo system. Extractors, I'm making my own extractors, but it is also compatible with the Voodoo V22 as well as the MPA Elite. The sear block, which is this little doodad, if you guys can see it, is a Voodoo Gen 2. So I'm making those as well. They're made out of S7 tool steel, machine here in-house, but all the parts are interchangeable. So things like that wear out, like the firing pin springs, perhaps maybe somehow you broke a firing pin. I haven't seen that, knock on wood, a Voodoo firing pin that has ever broken in the field for me, and I've been competing for a while. I haven't seen a firing pin on a Voodoo break specifically. Seen bolt stops, but I think they fixed that issue. And my bolt stop is unique. It's my own design. It's, if I have one here, thought I did. Well, our bolt stop is similar to a well, it's not similar to anything actually. It's my own design, but it has a lot of surface area. And as the bolt digs in, if you guys are He-Man out there and racking that bolt back, it actually cams over and engages more material on the bolt stop. The bolt head assembly is made out of S7 tool steel. If you look up what S7 tool steel is, it's a very high grade tool steel. It is a unique factor about S7. It is a tool steel that is resistant to vibration and forces of, like, hitting or striking forces. So like a hammer, chisels, high-end punches, stuff like that, it's all made out of S7 tool steel. It's a very expensive material, but it's something that I think was necessary, especially after seeing a lot of really rough shooters out there. What I mean by rough is guys that really abuse their tools. This is a way to mitigate some of the wear factor. So our bolt stop is made out of S7 tool steel. It's got a unique spring inside there that keeps pressure and engages the bolt assembly as another locking lug, and then on top of that our bolt assembly. Bolt heads are made at S7, and they're all controlled and heat treated by me. I'm actually a certified heat treater now, so I heat treat my own parts as well, and then they get sent out for DLC and nitride coating. There's a lot of protection, a lot of steps that I've really kind of somewhat over-engineered, but I'm also taking extra precautions, extra steps to make this thing a superior product in the market. So all of those parts will have, obviously we're working a rotation here as we're transitioning as a manufacturer. We'll have a lot of spare parts for our Genesis Action. Our mag buffers, we have them listed on the website as of right now. We have the Bergara and the Voodoo's one. We also are working on the Ace mag. This is from Alta Arms, the new mag from Alta Arms. Small modification, didn't really take much to get working. Just a small geometry change from the Voodoo mag and allowing the Alta Arms Ace mag to drop out freely and utilize the benefits of the mag buffer, which is basically taking all of the slop and play from a magazine, AICS pattern mag, in our Genesis Action, specifically a Genesis Action, and not allowing it to have feeding issues. What I mean by that is other actions out there are relying on the chassis geometry and the mag latch, either if it's adjustable from the magazine or the chassis itself. The magazine still will slop around in there and can also dip down. So on a preloaded or competition setting, it's happened, and it still happens today. The feeding will jam into the back of the barrel or have feeding issues. So I've directly attacked that based off my experience building so many of these custom 22 actions and competition rifles, that the mag buffer system that we patent directly gets rid of all the geometry slop and play, since there is no standardized AICS pattern magazine, which I think Accuracy International should have standardized that for all chassis manufacturers. It eliminates all the slop and play. That's what the benefit of the mag buffer is, if you guys are just tuning in and don't know what our Genesis Action mag buffer is all about. It's still utilizing a very unique TPU material. It's TPU with nylon. So these mag buffers are very durable. I could bend the hell out of these things. They hold up to heat. Obviously I'm in Arizona. Left these in my car. Direct sunlight on the dash. Nothing happened. No warpage, no nothing. They are compatible as of right now with the Remex mags. I am making the extractors or ejectors for the mag buffers, specifically the Remex mag is built in, but it will have a S7 tool steel metal ejector versus our Voodoo mag buffers are built in with the TPU. So the Remex ejectors, since the Remex mag, the neck area, which I'm talking about right here, is wider, longer, that Remex mag needs to have the ejector pushed back further. So it took a lot of material away from the mag buffer to kind of strengthen everything up and kind of reach up in the mag that the Remex is designed. We're implementing a pinned in place S7 tool steel ejector. We're just making those. My wire EDM is currently tied up right now, making extractors for both the CZ and then our Genesis Action /40 or Voodoo V22. So there was a question here earlier. All right, you mentioned L3I mag and Voodoo mags. Are you still making them for the Remex? Yes, I am. I don't recommend the Remex or the L3I mag. I've had nothing but issues with those mags. I'm just going to blatantly come out there publicly and say it. I've tested those mags thoroughly. I've personally invested over $500 in their mags, even the new Elites, and I personally feel, this is my own opinion, and also consulting some of the experts in this industry, that they got the geometry of that mag completely jacked up. So hopefully they fix it. I've spoken to Leon, try to give him my opinion. It's up to him to take it. You know, just trying to help everybody out in this industry, but I can't fix their products, and I don't have the time and manpower to do so. So I don't recommend the L3I mags at all. These mags seem to be working pretty good. These are the Ace of Spades, or Ace mags from Alta. They're machined pretty well. They're, you know, this is coming from me nitpicking as a machinist myself. you can see a lot of the tooling marks, which I think that could be cleaned up honestly by bead blasting, maybe a little bit tumble finish, but it's not bad. I mean, it kind of makes a unique, and it does showcase it being a precision CNC mag. These are pretty good, but what I'm more excited about is DDG, Mike Bush's DDG 10, 12, and 15 round mags that are coming out. If you guys haven't seen those, you guys got to check it out. Go to Facebook, check out DDG, that's a D-Lane development group, and you could check out those mags. They should be coming out this month, is what I was kind of following the forums, Mike Bush's forums and all that. Can't speak for him obviously, but I'm just gonna, I think that they are supposed to come out this month, or he's releasing the first orders this month. So those mags, in my opinion, I think are going to be superior to all the mags out there as far as a 22 rimfire AICS pattern mags. That's including the RimX. I'd say the RimX right now, the RimX AICS pattern mag is number 1. These probably are follow up with number 2, and then when the DDG mags come out, that'd be taking over number 1. I've actually had good luck with our action with the Bergara B14R mags. So, you know, that's a very cheap, affordable mag. The problem about those is that it's a polymer mag, so over time the Philips can wear out. So, yep, that's my take on it. I'm open if you guys have experience behind other mags and want to talk about it. Or say things are better. I just found that the L3I mags just are very finicky to get working right. Let's say the presentation angle, which would be the follower of their mags, is angled too high. So what I was running into was if the magazine was seated too far up, the bolt will pick it up. And this is testing with a factory Voodoo, which I have up here. The RimX, I got factory rifles, I got people's rifles as well. Let's pick it up the round, and the rounds were running up above the chamber, jamming, and in competition, that's the last thing you want to deal with. So, yep, D-Lane Development Group, that's correct, Fishing Ben. DDG, just type in Mike Bush DDG on Google, and he will pop up. All right, so let's jump on board. This might be a long chat. It's up to you guys if you want to stick around or come back later on and scroll through. So I work late. I mean, I'm in the shop 7 days a week, guys. I'm working my butt off. I feel a little bit burnt out, but the excitement seeing these Genesis actions come to life, and you guys, you know, backing us up and been there throughout the mud pit and hassle that I dealt with, that's been my motivation, is you guys. I'm excited to get these out in your guys' hands, and you guys giving me the patience there to provide a quality product. I went from design and in my head of an idea back in February, I think is where I started, really getting this thing on to the CAD file and then into machinery, and in my hands a working product that's been thoroughly tested, over 30,000 rounds between 4 rifles, and in the hands of professional shooters as a functioning, tested product, where I'm not going to give a product out to you guys and you guys are the test dummies and guinea pigs. This is a thoroughly tested product that I have personally proven. Even a couple of weeks ago when I went to the NRL 22X match, got 5th place in a very, very harsh environment. We're talking hurricane winds, 30-mile-per-hour winds, sand and rain blowing into this action, and not one malfunction. The courses of fire of that NRL 22X match did require a lot of preloading, very awkward positions. I was able to utilize myself, specifically take this action, which I just built the rifle a few days prior. I only had about 100 rounds in it, and went out there and was able to get 5th place with no malfunctions. Really kind of eye-opener for a lot of people, because that match itself, there was quite a few rifles that went down. A lot of frustration, obviously, with the weather, but we were able to utilize, or, you know, another thing too, I shot with Greg Roman, so he had the MPA Elite, so we were able to, as friends, just shoot together and see top-end products perform. So the MPA Elite rimfire action, which is basically a kind of going back to the Gen 2 Voodoo, the way I see it. There is some innovative designs, super smooth. I could vouch for that action. That action performed just as well as ours. So that was his, though. I mean, I don't know if it's cherry picked or not, but he did very well as well with me. I did beat him, so the Genesis got a 1-up, but that's, it will just, everybody has a bad day shooting. We weren't really doing well in the first half of the day. Fishing Ben, let's what do you got? What do you say here? Oh, there we go. It built me a Grey Birch 1022, the Schillen, and it's yeah, Ben, I remember that 1022, that Schillen barrel I had laying around. I don't know, man. Schillen barrels, I think they're my go-to. If I could get a Schillen barrel, I'd be using those. Our barrels are doing pretty well, though. Expected lead times? No, we are not 1 or 2 years. We're doing so we're transitioning, and honestly, I got a lot of crap for that. But you know, going back to what we're talking about, custom rifle builds, we're not a high manufacturer. We're talking, this is a complete competition, hand-fitted operation, where everything is the best possible quality that I could put out. And what I mean by that is not building one rifle that's, you know, a tack driver. We're talking every one of these rifles have a set accuracy goal that I guarantee. It's 0.3 inches or better at 50 meters, sub 1 inch at 100. That's what these rifles perform with match grade ammo. So I guarantee that with match grade ammo. We're not talking like SK long range. We're talking using Lapua Center X and stuff like that. Not CCI standard velocity, even though it will shoot that ammo better. But match grade ammo, Ely match, will shoot out a 0.3 or better, or sub 1 inch, and it's hard to be that consistent. You know, thousands of rifles that I've built, I could count maybe 5 times I've had guys that had accuracy issues, and out of that 5, I could say that was induced by either a cleaning error. The guy was cleaning the chambers wrong. Damage a crown, or was because the bullets were shaving because of a aftermarket magwell from a CZ457. So yeah, there's a lot of things and factors involved, and when we offer barreled actions, we're allotting you guys to take that barreled action and install it correctly into a chassis, and knowing that you know how to do that. It's only 2 screws. However, if you don't check the screw length, some of these chassis will send you a screw that is too long and will bottom out your front action screw into the barrel, and then your action is just flopping around inside that chassis. So I've ran into that specifically with the CZ457 builds. Since our barrels are threaded into the action, the threads of that barrel do get into the action screw, and if that front action screw of that chassis isn't the correct length, it will bottom out to those threads. It will actually concave, or it'll compress into the chamber, smush the chamber down a little bit. Not to mention you don't have your action fully seated correctly. So, and I can say this happened to maybe 1 or 2 guys that were complaining about accuracy from one of our builds, but we were able to work through that because I backed these things up and worked with them, and got to the point to where, let's just send you a shipping label. And that's what I found. So yeah, all right, so let's head on to the machine there, good old DN turn mill, and let's finish up that barrel. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I think this thing should be live. Yeah, I got the live chat here above as well, so I should be able to see your guys' comments as well. But all right, we're seeing everybody here. Let me show you what I got going on now. This is the Genesis barrel. It's got a unique feature. I just finished machining this thing just right now, and I need to polish up obviously a couple of little surfaces here, but it's turn mill threads. Turn mill is utilizing thread mill. Let me bring that tool up here. Thread milling is a very unique, um, complex, unique yet complex procedure on cutting thread. The benefit of a thread mill is that you get very uniform thread. You get the best threads out there because you are cutting away the material at a very high RPM. Carbide, which has a set parameter of threads per inch. So TPI, these thread mills are basically can range in different sizes, like this one right here at the back. And these thread mills, depending on the pitch diameter, can range from, let's say, 65, 70 TPI to like 30 TPI. This one specifically can range from 20 TPI to 40 TPI. So this works for at least actions like mine, which are using a 20 TPI thread. That is threads per inch. That's what TPI means. So this thread mill is cutting the threads on the outside. It is a very slow process compared to a traditional single point cutting, which will come in here with a carbide. The benefit to this thread mill is that it reduces pressure, full pressure. So even though I have the SSG two bore alignment system, if this was a tapered barrel, it would be very minimal contact area on the jaws. And what ends up happening is the tool pressure from a single point cutter can misalign your barrel. So again, a thread mill advantages is that it cuts the material out. You get very, very clean threads. There is no burrs or anything. And then on top of that, there is no chance of a taper or misalignment of your barrel. So that's why I utilize thread mill. Like I said, it's a lot slower, but it's a really good technique. Um, if you guys look at the tenon area, there's two shoulders. I got a shoulder here, which is traditional, seating on the back of the recoil lug. I also have a little shoulder right here in the front. So by action, the tenon of this barrel is fully supported on two sections. It does require your critical tolerances to be met both at the front of the barrel as well as the recoil lug. Again, a seasoned machinist that knows how to measure and compensate and understand, they will be able to meet these tolerances very easily. I'm messing around with this to see if this makes a difference. I am finding that it does, and I think I'm going to still utilize that. So that's just what I did. The tracker cuts are done. You can see on this barrel, the tracker cuts are slightly offset, kind of like a voodoo, and that's done with a splitting saw. So I'm using a Harvey tool slitting saw, 2-inch slitting saw. This thing has done over 1,200 barrels, I think, at this point. Still very super sharp. As you can see here, this is what I was talking about, live tools. This is a BMT 45 live tool. You have a 90 degree, and then you have this is a 0 degree, and then this is a 90 degree. So obviously I could drill, I could do end mill, concentric turning, all of that stuff. This obviously is orientated to where I could do extractor cuts and all that. But each one of these live tools could get very expensive depending on what kind it is. So I have Eppinger live tools. That's what I recommend. Based out of Florida, very high-end tool manufacturer. The problem with this is that this is not a very rigid milling head. If you can see, it's I'd say half inch, about the biggest I'd go on this kind of tool holder. But I have to take very slow speeds and feeds in order to get the surface finish that I want. It's not a very rigid material or rigid milling head. So I'm limited to milling capabilities, even though this is a dual style blade. This has got a main spindle and sub spindle. The turning capabilities are good. This is a 30 horsepower main spindle, 20 horsepower rear, which is really nice. And then I think it's 5 or 7 horsepower live tool. So not as rigid as a traditional VMC. So this VMC here, this is a style X7 that we got in. This whole spindle cartridge motor is 20 horsepower. Obviously, this is built for milling, and these things utilize something called BMT 30, which is a very inexpensive tool holder. So this will be a facing mill, and these tool holders are maybe about $200. But $200 versus 7,000. Not to mention this VMC has magazine uh, a magazine holder which will hold all the tools in it. So very unique. I'm going to look into utilizing the 4-axis, which is this part of this machine, to possibly start doing our action bodies. That's a whole different technique. So we'll see. But I have the ability, and I wanted. This is why I got this machine, to see what I could do and kind of push the limits on a small VMC with a fourth axis on it. So we are making the adjustable lugs. That's what I have set up on this machine here, which are these little pile here. These are what makes our action very unique. Our Genesis action is able to have an adjustable lug system where you can swap these around, and these will. I don't know if you guys can see the E and L. It's headspace. It'll change the headspace either for Lapua or Ely. We will have an adjustable lug pack where you guys could buy these things, and these will be set different measurements. Will be like +1, +2 thousandths. The other lug that will be on the set will be +3, +4, +5, +6. What's unique about this is that it doesn't require you to break down your bolt and like a bolt shim. So our action, I think I got one right here. Those are some of the nitride ones that came in. Let me get a bolt assembly. Our action utilizes those adjustable lugs, which sit right here, and all it takes is you to swap that one direction or the other, held down by an iScar TE8 Torx bit, and that allows you to adjust your headspace. So a very unique feature of this action. I think Pedasol is the only one out there other than ours that has the adjustable headspace feature built into the action without utilizing a bolt shim. Bolt shims like the CZ457 will require you to break down your bolt assembly and put a shim in between the rotating assembly and the bolt head. So it is kind of cumbersome, not to mention you're relying on inaccurate gauges. There's gauges like Whitten, which I'm not a fan of. They don't precision grind their gauges, and they're advertising those things to be a precision gauge. I have 7 sets and certified CMM measurements that those gauges they vary ±3 thousandths. Not a fan of those gauges. I really think that that's with a marketing scheme, and I think they need to revise that product. They're getting false measurements out there. So anybody that has those Whitten gauges, I hope maybe they changed it by now. But the 7 sets that I acquired, they are lathe turn, meaning that they spin those gauges on the lathe, and the machine, there's no post process surface grinding of those gauges. So there's a little nipple from the turning of those gauges that basically is giving a false measurement. So I like I said, I've seen those gauges vary ±3 thousandths, which is a lot for 22 rimfire. So I'm not a fan of those gauges. And if they want to come after me about it, well, I got a lawyer ready. So I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. I'm always about telling the truth and holding these manufacturers to a higher standard. You guys too. You guys come up to me. You guys are after me, and you guys are saying, "Hey, I want you got. If you're promising this, this is what I want." Well, that's what I always try to strive to deliver. So same standard you guys hold me, I think you guys should be holding those manufacturers as well. So with that said, I think the last thing I got to do here is a small chamfer. So we're gonna go back to the program here. I did stop it, and it's gonna use this little Pico tool. It's a very unique tool. iScar. This is a small iScar turning tool or boring bar. This allows me to get some really good finishes on either the crown, and this actually I utilize this to do chambering jobs as well. So I have a special Pico boring bar with a PCD insert, and it will go in there, and it's very accurate. So I'm able to actually chamber by single point cutting my chambers. I think I'm one of the only shops that does that. I single point cut my chambers with a tool like this, and it's kind of proprietary to how I do things. But that allows me to basically come up with any chamber design and measurements and lead angle, cut the chamber, and see if it makes a difference. I found that only the bench rest rifles, like the single shots 2500Xs, is where that shines, where I can put a very tight chamber. With a magazine fed rifle, it requires a chamber that's not tight and loose enough towards the rear to mitigate shaving of the lead projectile. If you have like a 52D chamber on a magazine fed rifle, more than likely you're going to have ejection issues, you're going to have extraction issues. You will also have feeding issues and shaving of the lead projectile, which can reduce accuracy. There's no need, in my experience, building a lot of these rifles on a magazine fed rifle to have a traditional bench rest chamber. And there's also no need to have a lot of stick out or jam of the lead projectile. There's pre-fits out there, which in my opinion are using too much of excessive jam. You can see where mine sticks out. It's about 110 thousandths jam. I don't go any more than 130. There's no need to go more than actually 120. I don't go more than 125. There's no need to have that much jam on a magazine fed rifle. When you go more than 125 to 130 thousandths jam on either Ely or Lapua, you will run into extraction issues, and you will run into pickiness of the barrel. The barrel is not going to like certain ammo. It's going to be way more picky. This also, to give you guys a perspective, excessive jam in a chamber will induce faster carbon ring, because you're jamming a lead projectile. Those gases and stuff are going to collect before the peak pressure builds up to push that projectile down the barrel. That peak pressure and dwell time of those carbon gases will basically will dwell there more. So your carbon ring will actually, you'll gain a carbon ring a hell of a lot faster with a chamber that has a significant jam. There's a lot of downsides to having that. Again, I don't see a lot of benefits to having more than 120 thousandths jam. Some barrel manufacturers do like that, like a Mueller Works barrel does prefer like a 120 to 130 jam, depending on the chamber and lead angle of that chamber. Personally, for me, I want to make sure these rifles are reliable, both in a competition setting as well as folks that fail to clean their barrels. So I have to accommodate things like that, and I have to make sacrifices on a magazine fed rifle that I don't have to do on a bench rest rifle. I'll get into more details about that when I build a bench rest rifle and talk about that, and I can answer those questions as well. Okay, so let me let's get my coolants off. I don't want to get hosed down here and showered. But we'll run last little chamber chamfer here. All right. So it's just gonna run in there real quick. Really shouldn't be operating a CNC with the door open, but I've proven this program out. So I know some folks would be like safety, safety, safety. I'm all about safety, trust me, but I've proven this program out many times. So it's just doing a very slight chamfer on that edge. And what I do is I do follow that up with a little chamfer tool. You guys that are reloaders might recognize what this is. It's a cartridge chamfer tool from RCBS. And what I do is I just manually follow up and I chamfer by hand. Just give it more of a round edge. What I'm trying to do doing this is not go too much to where it'll blow out the extractor cuts and have a very thin edge there. I'm trying to give it enough chamfer to where any kind of misalignment and feeding, the chamfer and a polish is going to mitigate saving the lead projectile. You start getting lead shavings in your chamber area, you will induce a feeding issue or extraction issue. Those lead shavings start getting everywhere. Jump into the front of the projectile, jump into the extractor cuts, get into the bolt head, get into the front of the bolt head. Now your bolt is having a hard time closing. So mitigating the lead shaving is ideal. Um, this. And the last thing we're going to do, let's find a little piece of sandpaper here. Just gonna sand this by hand. Little 1,000 grit sandpaper. And we'll speed this thing up to 1,000 RPM. And I just hand touch everything with some sandpaper here. Now, the chamber itself, I do touch up and I semi polish it. I do want to keep some of the cross hatching and tooling marks, a little bit of the tooling marks in there. Um, I noticed that does help out with releasing the spent case, but I do give it a pretty good polish. So I'll run in here with another piece of sandpaper. This is about 1,000 grit sandpaper now. Just because of my experience, I know how far to go for hitting the lands and grooves. So I just manually touch it here, give it a good little polish. One of the last things that I do before the rifle ships out is I do actually hand lap the chamber with JB bore paste just to get any kind of tooling marks out. That also kind of like seasons up the barrel, like shooting 1,000 rounds. When you're talking about breaking in at 22, there really isn't a break-in period. It's just the quality of the barrel. Bobby, the reamer, I don't use reamers. Yeah, I do have a reamer in here. Okay, let me rephrase that. Yes, I use a reamer, but the reamer isn't setting the final depth. The reamer is there for what I'm going to call a pre-bore. It's there to kind of take out majority of the material, and there's not that much material with the 22. But I follow up with a single point cutting tool. I actually single point cut my chambers. I think I'm one of the only shops that does that. So if I was to use a reamer, yes, AGS or Manson reamers are the two that I go for, unless Alpha reamers decides to start cutting custom 22 chambers. All right. I'm going to have to put the phone down. What we're going to do is take a Genesis Action, torque it down, and we're going to check to make sure that the extractor cuts and all that are lining up. Uh, where is that action? I had one of those actions laying around here. Uh, I had one of those. Sorry, I'm trying to find out what happened to that action. I had all set up, ready to go. Let me check the desk over here. Oh, I see where it is. Okay, so here's the fun part. Here's the Genesis Action, all nitrided. Nice, pretty looking action. What's even better, I don't know if you guys can see that if it shows up on the camera. Little aesthetic. I put a carbon fiber on my 3D printer. I'm able to do a little carbon fiber pattern. So on the mag buffers, you'll have something kind of cool, unique to look at. But here's the action. Super slick. I mean, it's slick, guys. This thing is smooth. And little one finger operation. You see it. This thing is going to be cool, man. I can't wait for this guy to get this action and him tell me all about it. So we're building this thing. It did have about 1,000 difference on the tendon length, but that's why I hand fit everything. Double, triple, quadruple check all measurements before making that cut. So yeah, let me get more in the light, man. I mean, this thing shines, guys. Deep engraving of that action. Tooling marks are very minimal. You know, guys that know machinery, when you guys get this action, you'll see. I spent a lot of time perfecting pull paths and understanding the metal and really pushing the limits of this machine. And it's just going to get better. We got new machinery coming, like I said, the DNX is more of a milling capability. It's just going to further improve the quality of this action. But I think, according to the DN guy, we had the main engineer from DN Solutions come by. He says what you're doing with this machine and the quality that you put out is very, very superior to a lot of other manufacturers that are even in the aerospace field. So, very complex geometry. Let me said I apologize. It's a little shaky. It's on the phone. But yeah, action, super smooth. Make everything here, even the extractors. The only thing I don't make is the springs. So everything on this action is made. Everything is serialized and matched up to the action. There will be an engraving right on the bottom of the bolt handle. And there will be a matching serial number engraving right in the front of the bolt head. So these are all matched. When they go out the nitride coating, we come back matched. So let's get this on the action here. Recoil lug as well. That's what I've been making lately. That's 17.4 stainless steel recoil lug. And what I'm doing here, we're going to torque this action down. Just making sure the tractor cuts and all that line up. My machine's got a big brake lock. And you'll hear it engage. Yep, there we go. It's engaged. And that will lock up the barrel, lock up the spindle, and I can torque on it. So, my own little action wrenches. It's similar to the 2500X, how the action wrench works. It utilizes the bolt pocket, lockdown pocket. Torque it comes down about 50 foot-pounds. When I measure the extractor alignment grooves, thread stretch, so it's kind of like a torque to yield, right? Stainless steel barrel, stainless steel thread do stretch. So I torque to yield the action 3 times that minimum. And that'll give me proper alignment of the action. All right. So action is upside down. Let me unlock the machine here. M90 for this machine. And that will allow me to hand jog the spindle. All right. So if I was correct and I got all my measurements right, I'm doing this live, so let's see all my mess ups if I have one. That bolt will have issues locking up, which it does. So this is where I make minor adjustments. Let's see where we're locking up at. Looks like this is a new barrel design. Let's see. Is it the extractors? Hell no, they're lining. Yeah, extractor cuts. Okay. I gotta widen the extractor cuts just slightly. That's not that big of a deal. So this is why we do everything hand fit. We never know. Lock up that. And what we'll do is we will widen the extractor cuts. Very simple geometry change. He saw, yeah, CZ action. I mean, if you ever felt a custom 700 action, the CZs are like, I mean, honestly, not as smooth as you think. So, like a true 700, like a high end quality 700 action custom, is actually a lot more smoother than the CZ. Even CZs are smooth, but if you haven't felt a custom 700, like let's say like a well broken in Defiance, some of the Falcor actions, it's really no comparison. CZs, like I said, are smooth. People fail to put grease on the bolt handle. And what that means and what that does is that their headspace changes. That bolt area will kind of round out. And that's why they feel it smoother, lock it down smoother. But I can almost guarantee the headspace is probably moved back about a thou or two. So What we'll do here, we'll change this, cut off the other side here 180 degrees, and go back to the extractor cuts. Search down. All right. So we're going to let this thing run. It's going to do the extractor cuts. And when that's doing that, we'll go ahead and load up the other CNC machine. All right. Perfecto. Okay. Let that run. Okay. So again, we're doing recoil lugs in this machine. And it does take a lot of finesse to being able to operate both CNC machines at the same time. Keeping track of everything. So this just faced off our lugs. A little bit of flashing and deburring I got to do. This was op one. So I make these little 1-inch coins. These are made out of S7. This is S7 tool steel. These are the adjustable headspace lugs of our action. And you can see that the profile is done, but I have to remove the rest of the material on the back. So that's what we're doing here. Op 2 is just a face off, a facing procedure using this shell mill that's right here. So get these situated here, torque down, and anybody that runs a VMC vertical mill, they know that we always get a little love tap with a dead blow there. All right. Remove this tool. I see a lot of people fail to remove this tool, and this gets dangling around inside the CNC machine. And I've seen a lot of CNC machines, sheet metal get damaged because they forget to remove this. Just like a lathe, you always want to remove your tool that torques down your material. All right, so here, auto, got the program loaded up. This thing is pretty quick. I actually have the feed rate down at 70%, but this thing's quick. He'll do his thing. Boom. There you go. A little shower of coolant. All right, let's jump back down into the computer since these things are running. What we can do is start prepping the CZ457, which I have a bunch of somewhere around here. Yep. We just got the shells put back. Let me grab a CZ457. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go look at some of these comments. Let's see. It says all barrels will be stainless steel. Yes, we could offer Cerakote if you want Cerakote. Yeah, if you want Cerakote, we could definitely do Cerakote. We have our own sister company that does Cerakote in house. Got a very top of the line Cerakote booth that we've made here, and we are advanced Cerakote in the nation. We actually advanced Cerakote certified in the nation. So okay, so what I have is I got like 30 of these actions. These are actually CZs, as you guys would buy them. And haven't opened this one yet. This is brand spanking new. Got the wrapping and all. So we order them brand new. We do. The models don't matter. I mean, the only thing you're really paying for is the stock, but the action itself is still the same. So the CZ action is the CZ action. And the first thing we're going to look at is good old bolt assembly. So CZ USA or CZ USA, Colt Manufacturing took over a lot of the production, I believe, and also parts. And I've personally seen this thing go downhill, quality-wise in CZs. I don't know what they're doing, but number one, the things that I've seen changed is the bolt handle is mimmed. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera here, but there's little circles on the bottom of the bolt handle. That's an indication. That's an indication of a mimmed part. So mimmed parts are powdered steel that are pressed in to make a specific part. There's really little post-processing machining, but being a powdered metal and then sintered with the heat treat them afterward, it's very prone to breaking. It's like having cast metal. So that video that I did, and I talked about CZ actions being cast metal, what I meant by that is they use mimmed parts. I kind of misspoke. I was just kind of I was tired that day. But for one, the actions are not a really good high-end steel. I do have a XRF analyzer, metal analyzing machine, a spectrum analyzer that tells me what kind of metal something is. A lot of scrap yards have these as well. So if you ever want to know like what kind of metal that part or whatever you have, go to your local recycler, go to the scrap yard. They will have one of those really expensive XRF analyzers. They should. So anyways, this is a traditional synthetic stock. I just need the action, so we're gonna take this action apart. Okay, let's take care of this guy. Yeah. And let's take this apart. Yeah, JC, J Delta 22, what's up, brother? Coconut World. I love coconuts for sure. Yeah, so I take these apart. There we go. There's another failure that I'm seeing right away. All the new current production CZ457s are coming with a injection molded recoil lug. So luckily the MDT ACC Elite chassis and the Vision chassis have their own built-in recoil lug, but chassis like the XRS, GRS stocks, stuff like that, they still utilize. They require you to take the recoil lug from your factory rifle and put it into the chassis. They're making them out of plastic, and having built a lot of these over the years now, these originally were like a chromoly steel, and then as I'm noticing in the last couple of years, I'm noticing their injection molds wear out, and I'm noticing these things are just starting to look like crap. Injection molding is definitely wearing out, and I bet you if I put a measure or a micrometer on here, I'm going to see this thing being less than 4 or 5 thousandths from original measurement. They also fit super loose on the action. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it moves back and forth. It's I'm going to guess like 40 thousandths, 50 thousandths gap. So if you don't seat your recoil lug, seat the action firmly onto the recoil lug, you will have movement on your point of impact. Your zero will change, and that's what I noticed, that the recoil lug being plastic, it's not holding a good zero, especially for heavy contoured barrels. So luckily with the new CNC machine, we're probably going to be making our own recoil lugs again and having to fix those parts. The magazine magwell, This is also injection molded. This is a common part that does break, and usually breaks when you're preloading a magazine into a barricade. The magazine will induce pressure and snap off the mag well. So these mag wells, if you've never broke down a CZ before, have something called a mag spacer. This is a mag spacer, and the ejector is built in, which is right there on top. That little, small little nub that's sitting right here, that's the ejector for a 22 rimfire. For 22 WSM, 17 HMR, this little mag spacer, and you can probably see, look at that pin fell right out of my hand. That's another failure of CZ, in my opinion. These pins that hold the mag spacer are like barely held in place. I don't understand why they just can't put a piece of scotch tape or something just to hold the pin in place, but literally it just falls right out. So for those that clean your barreled action or remove your barreled action from the stock, I bet you those that do that have lost this pin at some point, and or whatnot. But yep, this mag spacer is definitely something I recommend upgrading at minimum. Get the MDT extended mag latch. MDT makes a extended mag latch which does come with a metal mag spacer. What ends up happening is this injection molded mag spacer with the ejector, over time, with the spent cases hitting the back of that plastic ejector, will start rounding it out, and you'll start having some lazy, very lazy and sloppy ejection patterns. So I'll look at the mag well. I've seen from the factory these things come cracked, and if you do come cracked, the benefit of what I do in my company is that we work directly with CZ USA. We get replacement parts very, very fast. So that's one of the things I look into. We got, next thing we're going to remove is the trigger, and after that we are going to remove the barrel. Alright, so the trigger is held in. Looks like they got a E-clip style pin on the new style CZs, where it's just one C-clip on one side, and then the other side is a flange. You call these pins E-clips. So those that have older CZs, you'll notice that this pin is different. The new style CZs have an E-clip style pin, so there's only one C-clip. Alright, so I hate losing those. I got a whole pack of those things, but man, I've lost so many of those things. When I go to pick them out or pick them, they just fly. They're spring loaded. They go flying across the room. So the trigger is pretty cool. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but we actually make our own trigger shoe for the CZ457. It is, so I have a couple here. Yep. These are some that I made out of aluminum, but they didn't work well. But we make our own trigger shoe. And we call it the CZ457 PMT. That is the poor man's trigger. That's what the PMT stands for. But we make these triggers out of 416 stainless steel, and we have a 3D printed version as well. Alright. Let me turn off that compressor here real quick. Sorry about that. We have a small compressor that runs on my CNC machine, so the big compressor that we have doesn't run all day. I'm trying to save electricity bill here. Another thing that I noticed, CZ 457's, the pin that holds the bolt stop right there, that likes to come out, and that likes to fall out. So that falls out. I believe that is a oh gosh, I might be lying, a 3/32 pin, something like that. They're hard to find. Your local hardware shop won't have them. So if that falls out, then your bolt stop, you won't have a bolt stop. You're in for a bad day. Alright, so The first thing you want to do before removing your barrel is remove what is called the guide plate on the CZ457. It's a silver plate inside here. So that's the guide plate that has also a built-in ejector. That ejector is specifically specified for the 17 HMR WSM. So if you wanted to run 17 HMR WSM, you simply just remove the mag spacer off the mag well and get one of those 17 HMR mags, and you'll be able to, and then obviously swap in the barrel, you'll be able to shoot 17 HMR. So if you wanted to convert your 22, CZ 457s are very unique, where you just remove those parts, swap in your 17 HMR WSM barrel, get yourself the mag, and you're off shooting that caliber. But what I do is pretty simple. With the mag well removed, both the screws, tap them, give it a good little love tap. This one's stuck on there. Don't have a hammer lay. Let's see here. Let's get a hammer. This will work. A punch. Get a little punch down straight from the back of the mag well. Your guide plate will fall out. If you have this guide plate and you're trying to remove the barrel, I can guarantee you're going to have a hard time removing that barrel. Remove this first, then your grub screws. So I'll take the grub screws out, and the barrel will then slide right out. So, do I do slide cuts? Are you talking like, are we talking about pistols and stuff like that? If you are, no, not right now. So, okay. That's it. Barrel just comes right out. And honestly, here's another failure. There's a lot of slop in this thing, man. You know, grub screws on a CZ457. This is why I don't do pre-fits. Those cuts on that barrel are a lot of material removed. Where that material is removed, take a look. Right there where that bullet is sitting in the chamber, where the bullet enters the lead. That significantly reduces accuracy. Then your grub screws are then pushing into your chamber. So if you over torque your grub screws, you're going to induce issues with your chamber, possibly cause a cold bore shift. It's a very poor design in my opinion. CZ did this so they could easily swap barrels out and not have to deal with timing in action and thread milling in action and timing in these things. The CZ452s originally were a threaded action. So what I'm doing basically is taking a CZ457, threading the action like they used to do back in the CZ452s, and getting rid of that big failure of a barrel. And if you look at it, there's less than 3/4 of an inch of a tenon length, and that much material removed. And there's a lot of pre-fits out there that are over 1 inch, you know, 1.5 or 1.18 something. That is a lot of weight being hung on to a very skinny piece of metal. That's the reason why I don't do pre-fits. You know, the L3i pre-fits I think are the best in the market still as far as accuracy. They produce really high-end accuracy, but 100% of the time, not to brag, I outperform them. So that's why I don't do pre-fits. Those grub screw cuts on the barrel completely destroy accuracy, completely destroy the rigidity of the system. So the thing about it, what I wanted to bring up is how this guide plate on the CZ457 interfaces. You can see that it's kind of a wedge. If you never took one of these apart, the back screw of your mag well is what wedges this up. As you screw this down, this will wedge this guide plate into the barrel. What this is supposed to do is align your mag well, your magazine, to your action. And there's bottom metals out there, like the L3Is, DIP bottom metals, that, talking to the engineers of CZ USA and the guys that design the CZ, there is a set tolerance of magazine slot, back and forth, an angular slot. So you start narrowing that slop down, like these L3I mags, which I'm not a big fan of, for the CZ457. The L3I mags are thicker than the factory mag. They're thicker by 30 to 40 thousandths. That narrows the window down for your alignment of your guide plate. So the trick about getting the alignment right is, before you torque the barrel down, is to have your mag well and your guide plate installed, and with the magazine inserted, before you torque the barrel down, you tighten up your mag well nuts, what do you call it, the M6 nuts, the screws, and have that self-align the barrel, and then torque down the barrel. A lot of guys that install the pre-fits don't do that, and they run into issues with their magazines not dropping out of the mag well. They're aftermarket magazines. They're very hard to remove. You have to yank down, or they run into feeding issues. So that's why I personally don't like the L3I mags. They are very tight. There's some plastic mag wells that are tighter than normal because these are injection molded, and those aftermarket mags, they are running thicker, and they don't allow these mags to drop freely. And if you have a slight misalignment, and this could happen even when torquing the barrel down, that's another reason why these barrels that we put on there, they're torqued down, and they're plus or minus maybe 1 or 2 degrees. According to the measurements that I gave the engineers for the CZ USA, they told me that the margin of error with those aftermarket parts are less than 1 degree. So very, very narrow window is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of people that have issues with their magazines is because of their alignment of their guide plate. So there's procedures out there. I think Leon put some videos out there how to install his mag wells, which I think, you know, a lot of guys, they don't read instructions, including me. And when they don't do that and people assume how to install something, then they run into issues. They automatically want to go to the forums and blame, instead of looking at every concept. But for me, what I would recommend is the Precision 7 mag wells, or the DIP mag wells, is what I recommend as of right now for the CZ457. So we got the bare action, right? This is, and you can see manufacture date. It's 2025. Colt manufacturer. It's offset from the serial number. Should match the serial number to the bolt assembly. I want to feel how it feels. Some of these MIMD bolt handles did hang up in the past. I've had a couple that sent back. This one feels pretty decent. And I also want to look at the cocking indicator. The cocking indicator on these actions tend to hang up, and what that ends up happening is, when you go to lock down the bolt assembly, it will give you a very hard time. It'll fight you trying to lock it down. If you have that problem, more than likely your cocking indicator, that plastic red cocking indicator, is misaligned or damaged, and it's holding your bolt assembly from locking down. So when we look at a precision action, these things, like I said, I don't really know the procedure, other than they're not really a precision action. And they vary quite a bit. Not only do they vary on the bolt raceway diameter, they also vary on concentricity. These actions are not straight, and they are not concentric. So in the past, I've done thermal fitting on these CZs, and that was a really good way of locking up a barrel to the action, by oversizing the barrel just slightly and heating up the barrel, cooling the barrel down and heating up the action, made it a thermal lockup fit of the barrel. It was a good way of ensuring the barrel and getting rid of the grub screws. The downside to that is, once that thermal fit action occurs, then the barrel is pretty much permanently adhered to the action. It will require a shop press and a bearing splitter to remove that barrel if anything ever happens. Unfortunately, with our lovely community, we've had individuals in the past, when I built a CZ457 thermal fitted barrel, decided to clean their chamber with a pick and screwdriver. Obviously, we warranty our rifles, no questions asked. I'll take in the rifle, I'll try to fix it. If it requires me to re-barrel the rifle, we just charge the cost of a barrel, no labor. So unfortunately, we had a handful of these barrel or these CZs when I was thermal fitting go through damage from user error and cleaning, that I said to myself I had to come up with a better way. So what we're doing is thread milling the receivers, and these receivers are significantly hard. The melanite coating, as well as the metal they're using, is above like a 56 Rockwell. It's very, very hard. There are shops out there that are doing the same thing, or attempting to do the same thing, when they're single point cutting the threads into this receiver. Unfortunately, I can almost guarantee, because I tried it in the past, if you don't have a proper rigid way of holding this action, which I've seen a lot of guys, what they're using is like a action truing jig, like the Cortan Rifles action truing jig, where they have set screws, 4 set screws, front and back, 2 sets, trying to align the action, and then their single point cutting internal threads. I could almost guarantee you those guys that are doing that technique and cutting threads into this action are misaligning the action, first of all, when they're cutting the threads because of the tool pressure, or they're cutting tapered threads. Those threads are probably going to be tapered, or I'm gonna bet money they're going to be tapered. So we use thread milling, just like I showed you guys earlier. We use a thread mill, which cuts away the material. It's the best way of making threads. Doesn't matter if it's if it's a super hard material. Carbide will definitely cut into it. Just depends on your speeds and feeds. But we also double check it with a certified thread gauge. So we thread gauge our actions. What I'm going to grab is my bushings, which we're going to use and set this action up to be aligned. And those bushings are tapered. This is what I'm going to look at to see if how bad this action's out of tolerance. So I got a precision ground. These are bushings, similar to, if you guys are familiar, gunsmiths out there, truing up an action, 700 action. You got these little bushings that you find the bolt raceway diameter. Try to match it. These are tapered from a 705 to 710. So one bushing goes to the back, and that does stop. So it tells me right there it's not above it's slightly above a 710 diameter. What I'm looking for is a front. If this thing sinks in too far, then this action is way out of tolerance. This one doesn't. The bushings stop. Front one stops just before the 710. So this tells me that the tolerance of this bolt raceway is within a 705 and a 710. Guesstimating, I'm going to say it's like a 707 diameter. These bushings allow me to put a precision ground rod, and this rod is what I'm going to use to indicate the action on my machine. So all of this material, this precision ground rod, will be sticking out. There's a lot of area, and I will measure with 2 10th indicators, one side or the other, as I indicate this action in and prepare it for thread milling. Now, when we go to square up this action, we are squaring up the face of the action, trued up to the bolt raceway. So that's going to align the shoulder of the barrel parallel. Is it parallel? Yeah, parallel with the bolt raceway. And then we're going to thread mill the threads. I don't touch anything as far as the internal diameter of the action. What I'm trying to do is allow you guys that ever want to go back to utilizing a traditional CZ barrel with the grub screws, the internal dimensions, even though the action is threaded, won't be affected. This will allow you to remove our threaded barrel, reinstall a pre-fit or factory CZ barrel, and utilize the grub screws once again. Though you will have threads on the action, it's still, like I said, will allow you to go back and forth. I've never seen anybody do that, but it's good to have that kind of option. So this is pretty much set up, ready to go. This action does meet my minimum what do you call it, a quality check, you know. And then the other part of it is when we go to put this whole thing together, is the extractors. Obviously, we make our own extractors for the CZ. These factory stamped extractors are complete trash. Even with like a 10,000 jam chamber, these extractors more than likely will not hold or will not extract a live round. So I tune the ejection extractions of the CZ457s. I install our Talon extractors, which are made out of S7 tool steel. And then the ejector, depending if it's needed or not, we may install our Talon ejector or tensioner. Or what I'll do is I'll reprofile the factory tensioner slightly, little by little. I'll grind off a 45-degree angle to get that ejection pattern correct on the action. So there's a lot of hand fitting when it's said and done. A lot of work does go through these CZs, to be honest. In comparison to another action or a custom action like our Genesis, there's more work involved. And I'm not charging you guys for that. I mean, we're looking at, for one, they raise the prices on the CZ. So the prices increase from, used to be like $425 to like $589 for an action or a rifle. So the price increase about 120 bucks, and then they decrease quality. So you're paying more for less, unfortunately. But I'll go through this whole process as you guys can see. So let's swap back over to the machine there. That thing should be done with the action there, and we'll see if that one's locking up correctly. If you guys are still hanging in here, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Like I said, I can answer any questions. I'm unfortunately really busy, so doing videos is kind of not a question or something I could do as of right now. That's why I'm kind of leaning on these live chats. Keep our channel flowing. Keep people like you guys interested on this content, and then obviously answer any kind of questions you may have. So if something pops up, got a question, I'll try to do my best to answer if I know it. If not, I'll just tell you I don't know it, and I might follow up with a comment or your comment with the answer. If I can find somebody that knows the answer. Okay, this thing is just spraying coolant everywhere. Yeah, let's move this out the way. Come on. There we go. Get all that nice coolant out the way. Let's recheck our action. We pulled it back down. Let me put the action back down here. Don't forget the recoil rudder. All right. And done. Lock this bad boy up. Put the brakes on. That fork. See if this goes. There you go. That's all it was. Get this thing unlocked. It's a little tight. I think there's a slight burr in the front. There we go. A little tight right here. Minor polishing in the face. But how I have this set up is for Ely right now. So the adjustable lug, and for those that are still here and are looking at purchasing the Genesis action, How you read this is like left to right, like reading a book. If the E is on your left, it is set headspace for Ely. L for Lapua. So reading it with the bolt handle up, if it's right-handed, left to right, this one is currently configured for Ely. So the barrel is built. The barrel is built to interference fitment to the front of this bolt head, which is a dead set headspace of 40 thousandths. So 40 plus or minus half a thou. That will be good for Ely. And then obviously, if you run that kind of headspace and decide to shoot like CCI standard velocity, which is usually around a 45 to 46, what you can do is start inducing premature wear on the bolt lug. So this shouldn't happen with the very hard material we're using, but you will start feeling very heavy lockdown, bolt lockdown. So this adjustable headspace feature really, I honestly, ideally isn't meant to be swapped back and forth. For one, that's going to increase the risk of you forgetting to lock or tighten down that little T8 screw, which if you ever lose it, no problem, give us a call. We'll send you another one. But if you lose it, I do have a backup, a secondary backup. That locking lug does mitigate over camming of the action. But if you do lose your locking lug, no problem. The action, how I designed this thing, is going to fail safe to the biggest headspace. Kind of going back to how a CZ457 operates. This little cam surface right here, if you look at the action angled surface, if you lose your locking lug, it will default and utilize the bolt handle as a redundant system, so you will never overhead space this action. That's how I designed this thing. I really thought about this, saying, okay, I can only make this thing idiot resistant. I can't make it idiot proof. You're going to make an idiot decision one of these days or forget something. It's bound to happen. We're human. So I can only make this idiot resistant, and the bolt handle will default to a Lapua headspace or an acceptable headspace about 46, 47 thou. So you'll never have the risk of being over headspace and having a case rupture or putting you out of, for instance, if you're in competition, that lug falls out, you forget about it, you're still going to be able to operate your firearm. You still will be able to complete your course of fire. So that's how I built this thing. All right. So this thing's feeling pretty good. I like this. That's definitely smoothing out. This action is feeling freaking nice. I like this thing a lot, man. Yeah. So, oh yeah, that's another thing. This action is dry fire safe. No worries. You can sit here and do this all day. I don't recommend it. Things that are heating metal, but it is dry fire safe. You will not damage the barrel. And the reason for that is because the Voodoo firing pin assembly has a positive stop on the firing pin. This firing pin will not protrude past the bolt face. Even with a barrel built up to the bolt face, that firing pin is still held back about 1 to 3 thousandths, usually about 3 thousandths. So will not protrude the bolt head. So you can dry fire this all day long. I still, however, recommend, just because it's bad habits, just get yourself a snap cap or utilize one of those drywall studs, those little plastic drywall things. Just put one of those in your chamber. So, but in case you do dry fire, you're one of those guys that practice like I do, dry fire inside and positional shooting, PRS. It is a action that you can dry fire without a problem if it does happen. All right. Okay. Well, like I was saying, the bolt stop, it's a very beefy bolt stop. I have one of these, and there's some of my prototypes. Oh, this one's damaged, but uh, the bolt stop, I don't know. I don't have one on me right now, but it's a very, very big lug. There, what's nice about the bolt stop, how it's designed, is that it's up and down. Some bolt stops are horizontal where the pin is up and down. That's not good, especially if you're going to be really rough racking your bolt back. That pin, a bolt stop that's designed that way with a pin up and down, is prone to shearing. If you think about it, the bolt stop pins are very, very small, and they're usually like a grade 8 or grade 10 bolt. The higher the grade, the easier it is to shear. It's a very hard and strong bolt, but the shear point goes down on a higher grade bolt. I don't know if you guys, for those that don't know, the higher you go up on your grade of a bolt, strength is increased, tensile strength increased, shear point of a bolt of that bolt is decreased. That makes sense. So it will shear if the bolt's up and down, and you have a very high grade bolt. You go to rack this back, and it's designed that way. There's a good possibility if there's enough play on the bolt stop, that will move back, start putting a lot of pressure on that pin, and shear it. All right. So I designed it the opposite way. It pivots up and down like this. There's a full 100% um, surface area touching the bolt assembly at all times. There's also a spring inside of here which pushes forward, and it's also what's keeping the third locking lug with this action. You notice this locking lug system is designed like a Y. So the bolt stop goes inside this little pocket right here and pushes up against the bolt assembly. So that's a locking position. The bolt handle is a locking position. And then our adjustable lug is a locking position, like a Y. So you have 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth top, if you notice this little channel right here, my bolt assembly, similar to a Voodoo, there is a small pin underneath the scope rail that this keeps it. And it's an anti-camming rotation pin that's installed there. That's also spring pressured. It's pushing down. So you're completely locked up. 1, 2, 3. And the front of the bolt assembly pushing down 4. This bolt assembly, I think this is what's going to contribute to the accuracy of this action. This doesn't move. I mean, this thing, when it locks up, even, let's see if I have an action. This thing locked up, this bolt assembly ain't moving. You know, if I had, yeah, to see, you can see it right there on this. There's a detented ball detent right there. This gets locked up really well, and in my opinion, it's probably one of the best out there. The Voodoo does the same thing. It's got a very solid lockup. The more you could mitigate this bolt assembly moving around, that's going to mitigate your headspace changing. That's going to mitigate. Oh, that's going to increase consistency on your firing pin strike, reduce dwell time and lock timing of your firing pin assembly. There's a lot of advantages, benefits to that. High-end actions out there that are wire EDM cut. This action itself is wire EDM cut. It's not broach. The bolt raceway, there's about a 4 or 5 thousandths clearance. Very small gap. Those that build actions or square up Remington 700s that put bushings on the bolt assembly itself, bushing the bolt assembly, it's the same concept, except you're not having to do that. When you're buying a precision action, it better be precision from the get-go. So wire EDM bolt raceway, these bolt assemblies are held to a tolerance of plus or minus half a thou, and we're matching about a 3 or 4 thousandths clearance on the bolt raceway. So it's kind of hard to explain and demonstrate on video. You guys just have to feel it for yourself. When you get the action, you're going to notice this thing's got very reduced play. The camming is slightly reduced compared to other actions. You know, there's enough play on the bolt assembly, so if you side load it, you'll still move forward. It's just really meant for a smooth operation and longevity. So this barrel, other than the crown not being done, I'm gonna do the crown tomorrow. I like to focus on one thing at a time and get, just have a goal set. Chamber up this barreled action. We'll have one of these on the way to the clientele by tomorrow or by Monday. That's the goal. So tomorrow will be done. Give me a whole day to test it, along with whatever I finish up. Test the action, make sure it shoots well, and be on his way to a very happy client that's going to get one of the first Genesis actions. I appreciate it, Buzzy B. Let's see what Travis. There's a couple questions here. Sorry if I'm not answering questions. I'm trying to do my best to read the live chats as well as do what I'm doing here. One on your Genesis action, what firing pin spring do you use for best ignition? So, okay, this is the benefit for why we're using the Voodoo firing pin assembly. Mike Bush, DDG, D-Lane Development Group. You could buy a spring pack, which ranges from I think it's 12 pounds all the way up to 21 pounds. It's a spring pack which allows you to really fine tune your ignition system. These will come installed with a 19-pound spring. If you guys are okay, for the guys that we're building these rifles for right now, I always call and I always ask you what ammunition you are shooting primarily. Now we'll set up the action according to the ammunition you're shooting. So you're telling me Lapua, I will set the obviously the adjustable lug to Lapua. I also will set the ignition system with a 16-pound spring. You always want to go and find the firing pin spring that is 1 pound above failure. Now, this will change throughout the season as things heat up. You're going to want to reduce the firing pin spring rate. As things cool down, primer sensitivity becomes obsolete, especially with Ely. Ely does not want to ignite when it's cold. So that's why a lot of guys go with polar biathlon, stuff like that. Um, what you want to do is find the firing pin spring that is going to be what right about you find that where it's going to be failure, where you're starting to have light primer strikes or failure to fire. You go 1 pound above that, and that usually is going to give you the best ignition possible for your ammunition. What you want to do is find for the ignition is find a firing pin that's not disrupting the powder. If your firing pin is striking too hard, and I said this on my last live chat. For one, it's going to deform the case rim, and it's going to give kind of a weird shock. It's going to, I don't know what it's called, disturb the powder ignition system, and not allow the powder, not allow the primer to just ignite and let the powder just uniformly build up the pressure. You're going to have differences in peak pressure, and that's going to contribute to higher standard deviation velocities. So the guys that are running bench rest, that's another trick. If you're into bench rest and you haven't got into other than the OCD things of measuring the rim thickness and all that, which I personally don't find that to be much of a difference. If you're into bench rest, we're trying to find the ultimate accuracy, and you're not playing around with your firing pin springs, I could guarantee you're missing out a lot and you're leaving a lot on the table for adjusting your rifle. You could really fine tune your rifle to the ammunition you're doing without even jumping into a tuner. These are the small little factors that you could play with first prior to jumping into a tuner. That makes sense. So your headspace changes the accuracy of your rifle, a favoritism of whatever ammo you plan on shooting. Your firing pin spring plays a huge factor for reliability, your standard deviation numbers, as well as tuning your ammunition. All right. So let me put you guys down. Appreciate that, Hasbro. No, that's great, man. I'm here to share, man. Like I said, I'm learning together. I don't claim to be an expert, certifiable YouTuber, just like everybody else that's on YouTube. But I can back up what I state with data. And if I'm wrong, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. All right. So let me remove this barrel. Port's on here pretty tight. So let me put my purse down and grab the wrench. These SSG, you guys are gunsmiths out there watching this. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, it's the only tool out there as of right now that I know of that allows me to do barrel work on a big spindle lathe like this without having a spider. But they really are not a good tool for clamping on barrels. What I'm going to look into is like a chuck, like a 5C collet chuck, and make custom bushings, couple 5C collets, to get rid of this self-centering pitch saw chuck. It's just not enough clamping force. That's kind of where the benefit of a manual lathe comes to play. The manual lathes will hold on to the front of the barrel, and I like utilizing a number 6 solid copper ring wire, basically. It creates a pivot point, and the spider will grip on the back, and you can really center up a barrel. So, guys that are into like bench rest and all that, there is a benefit, and there is some downsides, obviously, with the manual lathe. Manual lathe is a little more hand fit operation, but what I'm doing, and you can tell it takes me all day, and it takes me a long time, even though I have the machinery to bust out and bang out a bunch of barrels. I'm utilizing the machinery with better capability of machining like turn milling, giving me a really, really good finish. The rigidity of the machine puts out a way better finish, but I still hand fit, still a hand fitted operation. So this barrel's done. We're going to load up the CZ 457 action here. Surprisingly, I'm still live. Oh, now you're probably gonna cringe right now. Um, I literally just clamp onto the action. Again, this is from my experience. I don't clamp on super tight, but the melanite coating on this action is very durable. Melanite coating and a very hard action like this, you're not going to get any scarring on the action. If it is, if there is any kind of marks on there, you're really not going to see it. But we are red mill with action right now. But, I got a little indicator here, like I got a jaw that I use. I use a triangle in my action. I'll give you a general idea where it is. But let's see how bad. And again, I just indicated those barrels. That's my barrel, and those barrels do not deviate more than 3 thousandths. What's up, H&W Guns and Tactical? They got Bradley Willie in the house. That's my partner right there. That's if you guys are really eager to get a Genesis action, they will be getting some of the first batches. That is to help me with keeping up with orders. Contact H&W Precision there. That's H&W Guns and Tactical. He's out of Missouri. Good old country boy. Good old. He's good people, man. Give him a call. He could build a hell of a good center fire rifle too. By the way, he is anything center fire. That's who I go to. Oh, yep. Let's see how out around this bad boy is. We are going to spin this thing at like let's say 100 RPM. 100 S S100 right there. Get rid of that 600. Start. She wobbly. Not just my hand. Not an optical conclusion. That's wobbly. Not bad. I've seen a lot worse. That's you wobbly. Let's get the thing squared up. Let's make this a precision action, right? All right. Gotta grab a tool here. Put you guys down real quick. All right. So I grab my little 3 millimeter wrench-a-lay. Get this reamer out the way. That's the wrong bit, just a bit. Yep, there she is. All right. Let's see. There's a comment here. We wouldn't be spending crazy money. Yeah, you're right, Hasbro. So personally speaking, and generally speaking, I save my match ammo for the big matches. I'm talking NRL 22X matches. The local 100 yard NRL 22 matches, I only go out to 100 yards. Obviously, they're going to have some local ranges will have their own house stages, but generally speaking, when I compete NRL 22 monthly matches, I don't use my match grade ammo. I use CCI standard velocity. Um, there's no need to burn up that ammo. The CCI standard velocity and the target engagement, with at least my rifles, are more than adequate enough with the accuracy that it provides that I don't have to burn up my match grade ammo. So if you're worried about getting match grade ammo, I really encourage guys to just suck it up and get your rifle lot tested. I know it's a case of ammo. It's going to cost around $1,400 to $2,000 depending on the ammo type. But that's 5,000 rounds. And unless you're like me that has to shoot almost a case a month, that should last you a while. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. You got a long lead time right now for getting into the lot test center, but that's your opportunity to get 1 or 2 rifles and console your buddies, your shooting buddies. Tell your wife you're buying a purse, and somehow it turned into a Lapua ammunition, make up something and get yourself the ammunition. You just had a shipment come in from Lapua test centers. A whole crate shipment came in. So, and let me put you guys down. I don't want to crash my machine live. This does take a little bit of finesse. Let me put the phone down here. What I'm doing is I'm jogging in my 10th indicator here. I want to indicate this bar here that I have. It gets pretty close to my sub spindle. That's why I'm saying I'm looking at everything here. All right. That is one. And we're going to get another indicator. Other indicator gets clamped onto the turret here. And we're going to dial, just like a barrel, we're going to dial this bad boy in straight. Yeah, SK Standard Plus. You're right, brother. That's another good thing. So, ammoseek.com. I know I just searched that today. There's a lot of SK Standard ammo around, as I know right now. So, if you guys are looking for SK ammo, Standard Plus, they got high velocity. SK pistol is another good option. It's not as good as the SK rifle, but it's like in between. So SK pistol or OSP is kind of a little secret sauce for getting kind of almost close to match grade ammo. All right, so this thing is off on the outside, outboard side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So almost 5.5. This is bottoming out. Oh, I don't even know. Come on. This bad boy on the inboard side, that's about 4.5. So we gotta fixolate this. Oh, that's just G. So if you're not sure what this tool itself will do axial alignment and coaxial. So coaxial is this way, axial is angular alignment. So what we'll do is we'll find the high side first, about there. Go to the closest number. Got a half this measurement here. Go to the low side. This is going to be a little tedious process, going back and forth, but it does take time. And this is the only way to achieve this on this kind of machine here. 1, 2. All right, right there. Low side. It's getting better. And you'll see this thing is way off. So this, like I was saying, these actions aren't a precision action. These things are really way off. Surprisingly, some factory CZ457s do shoot well, and we're probably talking 1 out of a dozen as of right now. It's with current production, but I have seen some MTRs like the good when a CZ was the good old days, like back in like 2020, honestly, right before COVID, man, like 2020, 2019, MTRs are built around that. Again, the 2-digit code next to your serial number on the action right here. That's going to tell you your manufacture date. Anything around like 2020, 2019, 21, those actually are pretty good design. If you have a CZ that has a Czech Republic logo next to it, you got a Jaguar model. That's a very rare action. Well, I want to say rare. It's made by CZ Spain, and those ones are of a higher quality. My problem, what's to say? My problem is to keep. Yeah, I know. JC Delta, that guy's got some Gucci stuff. He pretends like he's a humble fella that doesn't have good stuff, but every time I see his videos, he got some Gucci rifle going, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing a hell of a lot better than I am. I get all jealousy and stuff. Or started seeing some of the stuff he's coming out with. I'm like, damn, I wish I could shoot that. Oh, and he's just casually shooting $7,000 rifles like it's nothing. It's my buddies. Hmm. Your buddy meaning you're safe? Your own personal collection? Yeah. He said I had a friend of that had an MTR that outshoots. Yeah. All right. Now, besides all the drama that's happening with the voodoo, I did a video series in the past. Those were like a couple years ago. I've taken those videos not down; they're unlisted. And I promised when I talked to Paul and Jill in person that they were well. How this all went about. I did those videos, and this was back when I was in the tough shed, back in the good old building American business out of a shed. Um, I had like 16 voodoo rifles. Actually, I had like 20 voodoo rifles in my possession. Voodoo, and this is like scratching the surface of problems, literally scratching the surface of what I found out lately. But their action barrels were being torqued at a different spec. That torque spec, which wasn't relayed the proper torque spec, was affecting the headspace quite a bit. So the 20 plus rifles I had in my possession at the time, and I were getting numerous calls of guys wanting me to fix their voodoos. They were all closing down on a 51 to 54,000 headspace gauge. And let you guys know, a go gauge is like 43, 44 thou, and then a no go gauge is 50 thou. Oh, sorry, a go gauge is 45 thou. A no go gauge is like 50 thou. Anything over 50 thou, you're posing a risk for case rupture. And these things were locking down at a 40, or sorry, like a 48 to like 54 thou. I've seen one lock down at a 61. I was like, holy crap, how's this thing even shooting? Um, what that causes, if you have a voodoo and you're experiencing light primer strikes, more than likely, get yourself a headspace gauge or a no-go gauge. You can rent one from 4D Rimmer Rentals. You can rent a 22 long rifle headspace gauge and check your headspace and see if you're not over headspace. If you are, the only way to fix that is to have your local gunsmith, uh, what do you call it? What's it called? Set back the barrel slightly, the shoulder, and then retime the extractor cuts. Usually that's going to involve rechambering the barrel. And it's like basically redoing the whole barrel. So your gunsmith is going to be like, is going to tell you, unless you're just being really, really cheap and trying to pinch pennies, he's going to tell you to rebarrel that voodoo. I shed light to that on that video series a couple years ago. Um, it was told during Shot Show that, oh, we don't care, we'll handle it. And I brought it up to the owners. I said, look, I'm trying to be helpful in this community. I'm trying to help everybody, but this is an ongoing problem. You guys need to address this, and it's a legitimate problem. I got the 10 or 4 that I showed in that video series. That was only 4 out of the 20. I told them, and they didn't believe me. Well, if you don't believe me that you're having customer service issues and quality control issues, I just slapped down forwarded emails and emails and emails. We're talking 10 to 15 a day. So we're talking over 100 emails I forwarded to Paul and Jill. Said, okay, well, read these emails and tell me. Needless to say, it didn't go good. But out of respect, after about 4 or 5 months later, I guess it was hurting her business. Okay, I'll remove the videos. What I do on my channel, even though I am an employee of Desert Precision Gunworks, this is my own non-biased channel. It's my freedom of speech. I'm a consumer just like you guys. I'm a competitor. I'm a shooter. I go through all the drama trying to buy ammo just like you guys and deal with all the headaches and issues with products. What I'm trying to do is take my knowledge and experience and give you guys solutions, work together to find solutions. But I try to express my freedom here just like everybody else, non-biased reviews, not promote products. I don't get paid to do anything that I do here. The only thing I get paid is to do my job, which is building these rifles. But if I see a problem and it's an ongoing problem, I'm not going to be the one to complain. I don't want to be a complainer. I want to be somebody that comes up with a solution. So I will bask it and think about it for a few months. It'll be something that I've been working with behind the curtains. So if you ever see a video come out about certain things that happen and I'm complaining about it, that's because I've been dealing with that for months. So I collectively get all the data possible because you guys will hound me, scrutinize anything that I say that's incorrect. So when I try to put out data or information out there, I do my best, even though I'm human, to give you guys the correct information as best as possible, and not just be the complainer. Come up with some kind of solution for you guys. Again, I'm a consumer like you guys, and if I deal with these issues, if you guys are hurting, I'm hurting. I'm trying to say. So the Genesis action, obviously, that was something that was a motivation from a failure from Zermatt with the Gouge X issues. And I still get to this day, people call or tell my clients, "Oh, you got one of those problematic rim X's from Desert Precision." Well, those guys that are saying that obviously are just haters, which I got thick skin, but there's hundreds of those rim X's that I know of that I didn't build. Guys I got pre-fitted or got built from another shop that were having those issues. I go to these matches and guys are having lockdown issues, fail to fire. And, they come up to me because they know me, they know my channel. I take a look at the rifle. Oh, hey, what's up with this bolt assembly? You got the Gouge X issue. He's like, yeah, but it's running. I'm like, oh, not according to your fail to fire and the lost points you just had on the last stage. So it's funny, but um, yeah, like I said, I'm just an honest person. I try to be. Uh, let's see. What's up, Left Fever? Thanks for joining, brother. Hey, I didn't forget about a little project, man. As you can tell, I'm just buried, man. But I do want to get to that Savage Mark II. I want to really come up with a solution. Like it'd be kind of funny taking like a good old $100, $150 Walmart Savage Mark II and seeing if I could make a Savage Mark II as precision as like these custom builds. The action really isn't. There's not a lot of factors in the action for accuracy. A lot of it's the barrel. So if I take a cheap Savage Mark II, put on one of our good custom barrels on there, I wanted to see what I could do with that and give guys that are just getting into the sport that perhaps don't want to spend a couple $1,000s, give them a chance, an opportunity to get to compete at top level and grow at a lower cost. That's the whole reason for 22, man, right? Guys that are been doing NRL 22, I mean, why we shoot 22 rim fires? Because it's cheaper than a center fire. But just like any sport, and I call this our precision game, NRL 22, it's golf for men, and golf is expensive. Tools for golf are expensive. And this 22 rimfire game became really bougie. And now we are seeing $20,000 rifles out in the field. And we're talking like, the accessories and stuff bolted on. But yeah, there's that much money being dangled around, going through barricades and cattle gates for a 22 rimfire. Whereas 10 years ago, that was never even thought of to take a rimfire and go out to 400 yards or spend that much money. So I'd like to be one of the ones that come up with a solution. Perhaps maybe I might come up with an action design that's an affordable action that is good enough to be an entry level 22 is what I'm thinking of. If I thought about taking my action and making it out of aluminum, which will significantly decrease the machining time. But I also want to make sure I don't hurt my business and start acquiring pain in the butt clientele. Usually, what ends up happening when you have cheap products, you got a lot of people with expectations that are unreal, and are complainers. Like a couple recent Google reviews that I had, one guy gave us an FFL that was expired over a year and was trying to force us to transfer a firearm that was expired for over a year. And I said, no, that's going to cost me my license. That's my livelihood. And ended up getting cussed out, getting disrespected. We got zero tolerance for that. Cussed my wife out. I canceled his build. He goes on Google and lies, but it's just part of business. You get people like that. Okay. Let's see. You're almost there. I'm telling you, man. You guys are trying to see me going back and forth, back and forth. This action is not straight. I mean, I'm probably half a thou the last 20 minutes trying to dial his action in. But I want this thing to be on the money, dead nuts within 1/10. And I'm almost there. Let's work out a few couple adjustments here. What we got? I know you could make them. Yeah, yeah, you did. I remember seeing that, dude. Hasbro. Yeah, you did. I remember you won a couple of our YouTube challenges with that damn Savage you have. They're definitely capable rifle, just like a CZ. They're capable. They got its downsides though. That stamped sheet metal and that action. I almost look at when I look at that Savage Mark II action. I look at a EMT pipe, half-inch EMT pipe sitting on the corner, and I wonder if that's what they did. They took a standard EMT or three-quarter EMT, three-quarter EMT piping, and just said, "Let's make an action out of that," because that's literally what a Savage is about. It's like stamped EMT piping. It's super simple, but there's enough material on that action on the front of it that I could put threads in it. What's up, Elfsters? What the heck? I haven't seen that fella in a long time, dude. Glad to see you, man. How you doing? What's for Christmas, man? What do you got going on, brother? Catch me up here. I'm gonna dedicate some time to you. I haven't heard from you forever, man. Hey, we're getting some OGs in the house. Elfster in the house. What's up? The extractors, yeah. Savage extractors are a joke there, Jim. You might as well get a nail file and bend it or paperclip. Be the same thing. Uh, they got the C clip in mind. So, this is kind of a cool thing. If you look at the Savage, look at the CZ, even the 2500X, they're using a C clip style spring. And honestly, that is a really good design, very just simplified design. And it always makes you wonder, why are we overcomplicating extractors with plungers and dual springs and all that? We really need something to just grip, and if one side is less than the other side just grips harder. So that's why the CZ style extractor it's actually a good design, other than they chinsed out on the stamped steel. But pair that CZ style extractor with our Talon extractor, and you got a really good system. So we have a lot. We have thousands of our Talon extractors out in the field, and I personally, just like any product, worked with a handful of folks that had issues. Obviously, like what I talked about with the L3I products, um, that I personally fix over a dozen rifles I got sent in. You know, not relating to my extractor. The extractor system on a CZ has nothing to do with ejection issues. Barely anything to do with ejection issues. It's funny because we had a lot of guys try to blame my extractors for ejection issues, and I'm like, look, that's not what extractors do. They don't eject the case. They grip they grip a spent case or a live round. The ejector is a whole other system. But I'm here to help. So yeah. Anyways, little rant. Yeah, these extractors are pretty well designed. C clip. All right, I'm like right there. So inboard side. Oh my gosh, I've been at this thing for about 20 minutes. That's about within a tenth. Outboard side, we're looking at 2/10, but that is a very long area. So that's a very. I mean, that's dead nuts. You know, that's pretty good being straight. Oh, gosh. This action was pretty out of tolerance. And this vise that I use, the 6 jaw centering vise, that's a self-centering vise. Oh, and like I mentioned, our barrels are pretty straight. They're usually only deflect 1 or 2 thousandths, the 3,000 end to end. All right, so removing said tools, measuring devices, set everything home, and we're going to remove the alignment rod and the front bushing. Obviously, do not want to cut the front bushing here. So that is going to require a little bit of wiggling. Come on. There it is. Unlock that. There we go. All right. Got a centered up action ready to be touched off. and ready to be thread milled. Okay. Um, make sure my offsets are correct. This is what I'm doing. This is the offset page. If you guys don't know what offsets are, this is all my tools and touched off on the tool setter here and compensated for to get the correct measurements. Metal moves around. We keep our shop climate controlled very well, but as you machine, things will heat up, so your metal starts moving. So you have to adjust what's called offsets. These are what compensates the tool cutting. So I have to touch off this action on the front. Those that sticking around, appreciate it. I know it's been long, but you're seeing what I do here. Why? Action is going to spin, and what I'm doing is doing a little what's called a touch off. We're going to do a little scratch, just barely touch the surface of this action, and tell the machine that this is where our material starts. It's called a touch off. And we're going to set something called G54. That is a work piece offset. That's what the code G command G54 work piece, telling the machine that this is where our work piece starts. This is where I want you to start your tool paths. CNC, computer numeric control. That's what CNC stands for. All a CNC is doing is playing Battleship. That is literally what G code is. It is telling the machine, here, look at a code here. Move G0, move G1, move at a certain pace. Go to coordinate X at a feed rate of 0.002. Then go to coordinate X at point to a position of 0.2268. It is playing Battleship. That's all the G code is about. And certain machines have other, G codes and certain things. M codes turn on and off things. G codes tell the machine where to go or start a procedure. So that's how I can kind of best explain what a CNC is. The basics of a CNC, computer numeric control. All right, what I'm looking for, and I'm inching this thing. I mean, this thing is able to move at 1/10 thou. So we're looking at this number here. I'm able to move at 1/10 thou increments. So I'm moving this thing at a tenth of a size of a hair. I'm trying to get it to where it just scratches the front of the action, like that. I hope you guys can hear that. I am scratching the front of that action. Now I'm going to set what is called the G54 workpiece offset. So G54, measure where I just scratched, touched off on this machine. It's telling me this number here is based off the machine coordinates. This is basically, like I said, certain dimension of the machine, and it's servos and sensors. It tells the machine this position, X, Y, Z. C is the spindle, B is the subspindle, and Y. You look at this diagram, which I think I have another one. Yep, right here. Z, Y is this little slant right here. That's Y, and then X is coming straight into the part. So turn mills are really intimidating. Anybody that's ever operated a CNC machine that all they've done is 3-axis vertical milling, those guys are scared to touch a turn mill because yes, you could crash this machine very, very fast. You don't have a lot of room for error. I mean, you're looking at this is your workpiece capability capacity, and these things are coming close. So there is a huge butt pucker factor 10.0 almost all the time when you're machining with a turn mill. So load up our program here, turn mill. We are going to thread this action. These are all my programs here. You can see I've been going to town here with this machine. Mill turn threads, action truing. Yes, open that bad boy up. First thing it's going to do is face the action. We'll run this thing without coolant for doing this. We're going to bring up this tool. You're going to face the front of this action and see. Oh, yeah. That's what happens when you don't close the door. You get sprayed. Got coolant all over my phone. All right. Luckily, I'm part ninja. Turn that off pretty quick. All right, so do a scratch pass, base the action. That didn't touch it. We're going to see how bad this action is. It's going to take a scratch pass. Look, I got to come in a little more on the offset. No biggie. We will subtract 1,000 here and put minus 0.0. Let's take off 2,000s. Okay. Rewind the program. Let's see what it does. There we go. Now let's take it off material. All right. So surprisingly, the front of this action was pretty straight to the Bolt Raceway, but for some reason, the outside dimension is like cattywampus. But there was a nice spaced off action. Looks pretty smooth. I got a little bit darker here. I mean, I could come in another maybe 3/10, but that's honestly good enough. There's more than 90%, going to be over 90% contact with the barrel shoulder there. So the next thing you're going to do, make sure I close the door here so I'm not going to spray with coolant. Is mill turn. I'll bring up the tool. I'll stop it in the front. I'll show you. So that's the mill turn. The old end mill. And this is scary because we're working with an FFL item. So if we cut this wrong, we just destroy the action. And that's going to go in there. And I got to run coolant because this end mill will heat up very, very fast, especially with the metal. I was going to go in there at a certain distance from my experience and start cutting the threads inside the action. Don't necessarily hear it cutting anything yet. So it takes 3 passes. And again, like I was telling you, that the action in melanite coating is really, really hard. So I only take like a 5,000ths pass or 5 to 7,000ths pass. So there's like maybe 3 passes to get the thread correct. In the meantime, we are going to get our thread gauge, certified thread gauge. These are really expensive, by the way. These are certified to the specified thread diameter, unified thread UNEF at a classification of 3 Bravo. 3A is the best out there. If you're looking at aerospace, they all use 3A. 3B is like the general um, tolerance. So, and it'll tell you this is your pitch diameter offset. Kind of explain what that is. That's like the middle of the peak of the threads. So you got your little angles on your threads. It's the middle. It's like around there's like a datum line. So pitch diameter offset. That's what this number represents on a go gauge. No go is 1.218. And to find that out requires utilizing a thread pitch gauge. So for manual machinists out there, this is the tool that you're going to utilize. It's called a thread micrometer. And you find out which little pilots you're going to use according to the chart for the TPI thread pitch that you're using. And this micrometer will give you your pitch diameter offset. So what I do is always check your tools, even though it's certified, get something that makes sure your micrometer is good, then check and ensure that there's no damages, obviously, with your go gauges, the pitch diameter offset. This should indicate a 0.7175. And I think I could do that live. Let me see. You never know. I think this thing is set up for it. So, okay, Scott. Our tools of the trade. Okay. And I'm almost out of battery. That's what it's doing. So we're gonna zero this thing out. Oh yeah, it's jumping on me. It's there we go. So let me open this up to accept threads. This is made by Stars, and honestly, Stars is like not really known for being a precision tool company, but they do make precision tools that are affordable. They're obviously a step above Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight doesn't have these kind of gauges or micrometers. Okay, so we're gonna let me pinch this thing, get it in the threads here. Come on, kind of hard to use with one handed. Trying to get this thing to pinch. All right, that's the measurement that I'm getting. Is on the go gauge 7-1. Oh, that's off. No, sorry, that's only off by 1 thou right there. So certified gauge, and again, I'm trying to do this one handed. It's saying 0.717 or 716. You round up 717. It's saying it's off 1 thou, which is actually acceptable. So that could be me and pressure, but that's how you kind of check. But this is a certified thread gauge. These are really good to have. A good machine shop will have multiple of these if they're ever doing threading, and they should have multiple of these. They should always check their threads. Now, the difference is, I had comments before. They're like, "Why don't you use thread gauges when you're building a barrel to the action?" Well, it's because, truth be told, these actions, well, not mine. Mine are perfect. Only because I thread mill. But action manufacturers out there do not make their threads to the specified threads that they're supposed to be. They usually vary quite a bit. So when you have a barrel that has loose threads on the action, your barrel, the threads on the barrel, if you have a loose threaded barrel, it can move, especially on center fire. It can actually move this way. So I hand fit all of my actions, even including mine, just to compensate for any kind of tolerance issues at all. Um, anyways, yep, this is just got done, and you can see the nice, beautiful threads that the thread mill did, and it took about 5 minutes. So we're gonna take our handy dandy trusty go gauge. Does it go in? What she said, right? Come on, might be a little burr right there. It feels like it wants to. No, this does not. So this is where I compensate the thread pitch diameter. So you can see, look at the gauge is stuck. Does not want to thread in. Okay. We compensate that by going to our offsets, and we're going to cut more into the material. So let's take out 3,000. I'm feeling like 3,000 is the number. We'll go back and recut this. See, and if you guys are seeing, this is a hand fitted operation. I mean, I didn't have this tool. Those threads look perfect, but I double check everything with what are you supposed to do? I could have let that go, but it said no. All right, gonna do his thing again. Recut the threads. Sometimes when you get to this situation where you're like, for sure your machine didn't move that much, that's a good indication that these end mills or getting to the point where it got worn down. And I think that's what happened. It's to the point where it's probably need to be replaced. Yes, John, you're 100% right. It's always a human element required in experience, even with the greatest automation. You're 100% right, brother. I think Elon Musk said this correctly, and I'm not like into politics or I know enough to argue anything politics at all. But he did say that AI it will replace like jobs that are desk jobs. You know, guys that are doing pencil pusher paperwork. AI can is going to replace that, but it will never replace skilled craft, skilled labor. It can't. It's trying to. There's AI programs out there right now called like NC Cloud that will take apart like you have modeled up and will draw and make the tool paths for you. And a lot of people have luck with it, but there's been a lot of people that had crashes with their machines because they let AI take over. And when you crash a machine like this, they're talking tens of thousands of dollars of damage that now you're down production and you crash a machine that's going to cost you $10,000 or more to repair just because you relied on AI. You know, I kind of frown on those guys that sit there picking their boogers, letting their Tesla drive them and park their vehicles. We need to bring back to basic humanity here. Skilled craft, skilled labor. Stop relying on computers and AI. Jesus, just drive your car. I should have to sit there 15 minutes in the parking lot, Chick-fil-A, watching a Tesla try to automatically back up a car. But that's just my rant. But yeah, AI is taking over desk jobs, but it will never take over a skilled craft. This is the main reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I quit a good career in a railroad to hopefully pass down a skill trait for my family. And machinery and manufacturing is always an open door for my young boys when they grow up to be men, either sell the business or move it forward. How good are you recording a video live? I got ninja hands, brother. I'm holding a phone, just using these. uh, yeah, I've been standing here for a while, but I think it's kind of cool showcasing live, you know, what I do. Um, I'm unable to create content and edit videos. I simply just don't have the time anymore. But this is a way for me to still interact with you guys, give you guys content live, answer any questions. I mean, usually you guys come to my channel for informative videos. It's better to kind of showcase you guys live and answer your questions live and kind of knocks out the BS. You know, video editing, you could obviously edit out uh, just random stuff and make you look more professional. I like to be transparent, and if I can showcase this live and show you guys what I do, it's just transparency. You guys see what my experience is. You guys can see what I've been doing for the last 8 years and how I progressed. I'm able to talk through this and still precision machine things and build things in front of you guys. That's just experience, and I'm getting better every day. And more I'm behind a machine, I learn something every day about this. This doesn't matter what machine it is, but I learn something every day, or I strive to. And if I learn something and I master it, I try to give that information back to you guys. You guys, machine parts for SpaceX, right on. Yeah, aerospace industry is a whole different ball game. I was in that field for a little bit, where even touching your gauges, your gauge, any kind of gauges, or like you can induce heat, so you don't want to touch it more than a couple seconds. And we're talking aerospace, we're talking 1 micron tolerances and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game compared to this. This is nothing compared to aerospace. Those guys are holding crazy tolerances that this machine is able to do so, but at a level of way more precision and higher grade tooling. Okay, this still is requiring. I have a feeling this tool here is worn out. We're going to change this tool out. It shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to walk that. that offset that much. So they got gauges to check everything. So that's why I have what I have. We're going to change this and that end mill out to this one. Let me do that real quick. I just swapped this machine back over from when I was building my actions, obviously with a roll product truck to doing barrel work. So got different tooling when I do that. That's why I tell guys I work in a rotation. I can't just have this machine dedicated. Well, I want to. I want to have this machine dedicated for just doing barrel work, and that's why we're getting new CNC machines in. But in order to produce my action as of right now, I have to swap the tooling over machines that this allows me to build a barrel. All right. This end mill, let's put that on the used pile. This thread mill, we're going to install. We're also going to push this thread mill in a little further. We're going to increase the rigidity. Thing is sticking out quite a bit, and I was doing that for the Genesis barrel that I was doing earlier. All right. Make sure things are spinning, and we are going to put our tool fitter down. Retouch off this tool here. So this little tool is what they call a manual tool setter. And what this is going to do is it will jog at a very, very slow rate. I don't see that, but you'll see the number. We're looking at this measurement right here. That'll update when it touches. So that went red. That updated. So that's the Z offset that we're talking about. I'm going to put my X offset back to where it was because I don't want to overcut these threads. And that's from memory. I know that number by heart running this machine. And once again, recut the threads. Now, this usually runs a lot smoother. um, I usually bust out 3 or 4 actions by this time. But, when you swap the machines over and you swap in different tooling, things move around. So it takes time to get the machine back to where it was and repeatability. So it's kind of where I tell guys, look, that's why I work in a rotation. And if I get to those stages where I'm just struggling, where I'm having issues, I just stop. You know, hang the boots up, start freshening tomorrow. Last thing you want to do is crash a machine when you're tired or things just aren't working well. You just look at the signs, just like life. You're like, hey man, this ain't working out for me. I'm not going to keep pushing forward. And I'll start freshening tomorrow. You got to know when to hang up, man. Hang it up. Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I think this is cool. I personally enjoy this kind of content. Like, I look for channels that do this. So when I surf through like live YouTube, there's like very, very few channels that I've seen that guys are like machining live. But I like it because it's a way for me to learn as well. Like they're masters of their craft in certain aspects. There's always something to learn from somebody. So you may pick up little key points here and there that's just going to help you excel and improve on your skill set too. So, I mean, I hope I do the same thing. If there's nothing but a lot of blabber or jabber that you guys already know, you just tell me, let me know. But hopefully you guys pick up something. That's the main goal. That's the goal of this channel is to teach precision and learn and make sure that this craft that we have, this skill trait pushes on forward, man. Like I mentioned, if we keep relying on machinery and AI, this this skill is going to go away. We're not going to see guys that are doing what I'm doing, innovating and taking raw stock material and making something out of it, turning round bar to precision tools, you know. So yeah, on a Friday night. Yeah, we had up to like I think 80 people. The funny part about it is after the live chats, there's quite a bit of people that watch it afterward. There's usually about 3,000 to 4,000 people after a week or so watch the live chat. I mean, how long is their attention span, and how long do they go through? I don't know, but I think majority of folks, like I was saying, will catch something that they like, pique the interest, learn a little bit, and then come back to it later on. I don't know. Um, Again, I'm going to try to do more of this format until the feedback that I get from you guys is like, okay, enough's enough. Um, but this is a way for me to create content for you guys, answer questions, and still keep my channel alive. You know, I'm heavily into this machining thing industry, full force in, 7 days a week. I'm up here, and you can see it's late. Our shop closes at 5 o'clock here, Mountain Standard Time. I work late to get away from the phones, so I can concentrate like this, like what I'm doing. Oh yeah, so it's cutting. I hear metal, and so that's telling me, yeah, that this end mill right here, this end mill was worn out. So yes, sirree. I think this is going to be okay now. Yeah, man, I'm glad I got this gauge. I'm telling you right now, if I didn't have this gauge, that action, well, it would have threads, and yes, you could build a barrel with threads on there. But I always look at it as if someone was to inspect my quality of work, like just like me, if I'm taking voodoo actions or gun builds from factory rifles like the voodoo, and I see a problem, it's like it's a it's a laughing point. I don't want that hanging in my head. I want to make sure that everything that I do is 110% effort, and I do it as best as my abilities I possibly can. And if something is wrong, hopefully somebody is humble and willing enough to share with me that this is wrong and I can improve. But I do what I can. I invest a lot of money in tooling. I research a lot. I read a lot, and I try to make sure that whatever I invest in, any kind of tooling that I implement, any procedures or things that I do, is top of the line out there for you guys. All right. So that sounded good. It sounded like it cut more metal. I think this bad boy's gonna thread in now. Oh yeah, see? Boom. Nice and tight. That's what I'm talking about. That's good. That feels good. Got a little schmegma on the threads here, but that's okay. That's go gauge. This is tight. I know a no go gauge isn't going to thread. So experience told me that this end mill that I had before was worn out. If I could have been that machinist button pusher that's going to keep adjusting the offsets and going and going and going. Yes, this will eventually thread into the action, but so would this side. We don't want this side to thread in. This is the no go. And you can see it wants to go. That sucker's locked up. No go. Threads are in spec. This thing is ready to rock. All right. So what it's going to do now is a chamfer. That's to get rid of the burr in the front of here of the action. Just going to bring up my little pico tool. That's the last procedure of this program. And using my little pico tool here, I'll throw lots of coolant. Like I said, I just try to. This action is significantly hard. If I don't run coolant, you will see like red sparks, and that's just not good for tool wear. So carbide bits obviously will still cut and high heat, but that tool boring bar in there right now is like 60 some dollars. I'd like to at least get a couple more actions done on it. Titans of CNC. I'm not like Titans of CNC, but those guys are like OG. These guys are running videos with no coolant and all that, and showcasing all the metal chips and blue chips flying. They got kind of metal behind their back, so they could run their machines with no coolant. Don't care about inserts. Change inserts every day or every hour. Anyways, this action. There you go. Live. You guys can see the threaded action. You know what the cool benefits of this is that my actions, because how I index it on my machine, all of my barrels that I build for a CZ, are usually timed very, very close, if not perfect. Like I could take a CZ barrel off a build previous, as long as the headspace is the same. And these actually do hold very tight tolerance headspace, surprisingly. Even though I'm here boasting about it being not being a precision action, they will hold a tendon length very, very tight. So let me get the coolant out of this, and I can show you the number usually on the headspace, even after machining and squaring up, and we took off material at the front of the action, usually falls around a 1.191, plus or minus 2 thousandths. So you're not calling me a liar, hopefully. It's going to prove me wrong. It should fall around that number, and we will check that real quick. Let me get the bolt assembly. Got the bolt assembly here, matching numbers. Make sure this is the right one. 692, 692. Walk down. We're going to take our digital depth micrometer and let's see how I could do this live. Well, I should be able to do it in my hand here. Go to the top of the bolt head. So this thing is I got a 1 inch extension. Remember the number I told you guys, 1.191. See, 1.190 and 5/10 thou plus or minus one. It's there. So these things technically will hold very tight tolerance headspace. Not sure if I'm helping that with facing the action off the way I do and threading the receiver, but I do hold a very tight headspace. That number 10 and length to give you guys perspective how this works. And if you're wondering how to actually accurately get the headspace of a CZ457 without using crap gauges like the Whitten gauges, which are not precision gauges, by the way, I said that earlier. Use simple calculator. You're going to take, and you usually want to have a trigger installed because the trigger does kind of induce a little bit of play here. But you take the measurement from the front of the bolt face. This is how you do it properly if you want to get an accurate headspace reading. Front of the bolt face is the pocket where your rim of the cartridge sits. And you got in front of the bolt head. That's the outer rim, front of the bolt assembly. Bolt face, bolt head. All right. Take your depth micrometer. Make sure your depth micrometer is accurate and zeroed out to the appropriate whatever extension you're using. You use certified gauges for that. So you take the measurement front of the bolt face. So that's 1 inch, 233 thousandths. So we'll input on the calculator 1 inch, 233 thousandths. And we do know that, let's just double check, triple check our measurement. The bolt head measurement should be 1.191. And this one is showing me 1.191. I go to the other side here, 1.191. So let's say 1.191. Take that measurement minus 1.191. This action, if I build a barrel up to interference fitment where the barrel is sitting in front of that bolt head, meaning the barrel's touching that bolt head, the headspace of this action, the best it could do is 42 thousandths. There's a lot of people that I've seen online that are claiming they're putting bolt trims in. This is how I know, however they're doing their measurements on setting headspace is incorrect, because your headspace is dictated that you're able to make your headspace on your CZ. How you're the furthest you could go is dependent on the pocket of your bolt face, meaning the depth that this was machined out from the factory. This depth can vary. I've seen this vary quite a bit, maybe plus or minus 3 thousandths. But a majority of CZ actions cannot headspace less than 41 thou. Majority. So guys that are claiming 39 thousandths, 40 thousand headspace, I can almost guarantee you if they're using those go gauges from Whitten, that's probably where they're getting that measurement from. Number two, either did not correctly measure their headspace. So this action This one particularly is going to be headspace for Lapua, or Lapua is the correct terminology, pronunciation. Uh, we're at headspaces for 0.43, 43 thousandths. I'm going to have 1 thousandths of gap, little sliver, 1 thousandths. That is nothing. It barely, it's the size of a hair. So that the barrel face, if I build this thing hand fitted to the action, 1 thousandths clearance between the bolt head and the barrel tenon face. Now, what I talked about earlier, guys that fail to put grease on the bolt handle assembly. You always want to have lubrication. This bolt handle is the main lockup of a CZ457. Even though this is brand new, if you have a CZ457 and you look down and you see this edge, hopefully you can see it. This edge right here is rounded off. I can almost guarantee your headspace has changed, has moved back almost at least 1 thousandths, if not more. And that happens when you don't grease or put grease on this bolt assembly. You want to put some grease in here. That's a maintenance item. I live in the desert, so having silt and sand get in there sucks. It really does. It is a downside, but having some kind of COP or some kind of grease, some kind of lubrication to keep you from wearing down this surface area over time, thousands of bolt manipulation will keep your headspace tight. Now, in the case that happens where your headspace has moved or you have noticed this is running super, super smooth, smoothness isn't the best thing, honestly. It's good to have, but if you don't understand your weapon system and what's happening, and you're, again, leaving out a lot of things on the table. So you don't lubricate this thing up, your headspace change, and you're wondering why your accuracy has fell off on your CZ457. You're wondering if is it the ammunition, is the headspace, or whatever, or yeah, it's more than likely because your headspace changed. That 1 thousandths of difference on your headspace makes a huge, significant difference in accuracy downrange. That's why I have an adjustable headspace on my action. It makes a big difference. It does more than what a tuner ever will do. 1 thousandths difference. There's a lot of videos out there where guys that have tested this theory. And I'm not saying go out there and test, put 1 thousandths bolt shim and test at 50 yards. We're talking your applied distance, 100 yards at minimum, a 1 thousandths headspace difference. You'll see it at 100 yards. Definitely 100 yards. I can guarantee you will see it. So grease the bolt head if it moved. Again, what I would recommend to do is go to a certified carbide shop. If you're wanting your precision ground gauges that are correct, go to a carbide shop that does that either makes carbide tools or grinds carbide end mills, and they can make you a certified precision ground gauge for you. Maybe we will get into that as well. We might utilize our wire EDM to make gauges for you guys, and that would be a way to where I could at least say, hey, here's an actual tool that works. Obviously, you're more than welcome to check my work as well and my products, but I could at least say, hey, this is a precision ground gauge. I'm not going to 3D print some holder and say that these are 42,000 test base gauges. They will come with a certification from a CMM machine, a computer measuring a machine is basically what it is. It's a certified measuring machine. I have one of those. I have an optical comparator, and that will come with that certification. So these gauges are certified measurements, just like aerospace. John's got a good question here. Do you smooth out the serial numbers on the CZ bolts? Yeah, actually, I do. I do a little bit. I actually leave that up to you. I really just don't have a lot of time to do so. It does smooth out the bolt feel, very, very small. I could tell you one thing. If that made a big difference, remember earlier in the live chat I talked about the guide plate, which is that silver plate that the bolt assembly rides over. A couple things that could happen is when someone makes, if you have an aftermarket barrel, and I've seen this with aftermarket barrel prefits, that little shelf area, let me get a barrel and have a barrel representation for you. Yeah. Here's one of my boo-boos that I had. Same thing. Actually, this is funny. We bring this up. This actually happened to this specific barrel, and I didn't let this rifle leave my shop. I ended up rebarreling it. Hence why I have this barrel in my hand. So this shelf area right here, even though it was in spec according to CZ USA, the depth of this area, that little guide plate that rides up in there was actually out of spec from the factory. So it was actually thinner. What ended up happening is that when you go to torque down that guide plate, it will pivot up. That little movement that it moves, pushing up the guide plate, is going to make your bolt assembly ride and have more friction over that guide plate. And if you feel those laser markings, hitting, and it's when you smooth it out, that laser marking over that guide plate, and you feel like it got better, I can almost guarantee you that guide plate is not sitting correctly. Either the aftermarket barrel shelf right here, this specific area right here, is cut incorrect, and a lot of aftermarket prefits don't have this correct. Two, the guide plate that you have in your rifle system is out of tolerance. When you would go to install that guide plate into, for instance, this was like, okay, let's thread this barrel onto the action. Well, you can see this one, it doesn't want to do it. But if this barrel was threaded onto the action, I install that guide plate should tap in. You should have to tap in that guide plate with a punch. It should have resistance going in, meaning it shouldn't just fall into the pocket area of the CZ barrel. That guide plate should not be having to manipulate and pivot up a lot. It should almost be like a friction fit. Obviously, what I showed you guys earlier, where I used the punch, well, somewhat like a punch. I used my Allen wrench, but punching out the guide plate, you can see that resistance was there. If you don't have that resistance, that guide plate on your CZ457 or the barrel itself is out of spec. And when I talked about earlier with aftermarket bottom metals having, for one, the L3I mags being thicker, which, you know what? Let me show that live because this is something you guys got to see. Let me grab an L3I mag. All right. Well, I lied. That's how much I hate those L3I mags. I don't even have one. I know I have like five laying around somewhere, but I tucked them in a corner. They suck. Um, the magazines from the factory, if you ever get a hold of one, here's a factory mag. These ones should be, I forgot what it was like 2.7 something, the thickness. Oh, 3.55, yeah. So 3.55 is a factory thickness of a CZ457 mag. I found those L3I mags to be 40 to 60 thousandths thicker, which again limits the tolerance value of that guide plate. Now, this is an NDR mag. This is kind of actually, I had really good luck with NDR mags. I actually have 6, 7 of these things. Found a bunch of these because I actually use these because they work. And these are actually thicker, but not by much. So the NDR mags are showing 363. So they're thicker than factory, but they're not 40 thousandths thicker. So these work. I've had good luck with these, obviously. So if I could find an L3I mag, you'll see what I'm talking about. Or if you guys have a caliper at home, take a measurement from a factory CZ mag. You'll see that it's thicker, and if you have issues with reliability and all that. But again, going back to the guide plate, that guide plate is a significant factor of why your mags don't fall out or feed correctly, or your bolt is feeling really rough going in and out of your action. Like removing the laser marking is going to reduce the friction. Obviously, it's not a lot of material. I mean, honestly, these new ones are laser marked, and their etching is a lot better than what it used to be. But your guide plate more than likely is just rubbing. It's fitting too high up on your action. So going back to the follower, this is a very crucial measurement. The reason why the CZs are very reliable is because the interference fitment, the magazine to the action body, not relying on the chassis itself. That's why CZs work really well. That's where I got the idea for my mag buffer system. But the follower's got to be the appropriate angle. Sometimes some of these magazines, aftermarket mags, I don't mean to be picking all three eye, but they're the ones that I'm having issues with lately. Their follower is out of tolerance. The follower sticks up way too high. What happens if you're experiencing this problem with the CZ457? Your last round is not ejecting; it's just falling down into your action, or perhaps you're having issues with ejection. The best thing to do is get your phone, film your phone on the ejection port in slow mo, and see if your spent case is trying to eject off the next round of the magazine. If it is, it's because the follower is in the correct angle height. What ends up happening is the spent case, instead of riding over your next round of your magazine, because the angle is incorrect, which actually you could fix if it has a metal follower. You can fix this by adjusting the follower angle by disassembling your mag and readjusting the angle. If you're having an issue with ejection, try it out first where you have your phone filming a slow mo. And if you see your spent case not riding over your next round, or it is ejecting off the follower, then you know for sure there's an issue with that magazine. Over time, even the CZ factory mags, because they're plastic, the feed lips, the lips right here in the magazine wear in, they wear out. And that's because of insertion of the magazine over time that the bolt rides and will ride over the feed lips, this little rib right here will ride in this channel. And if your magazine was off center just a little bit, over time, it will wear into the feed lips, presenting the round further up into your action. That will induce the same problem. So if you're having problems with feeding from a CZ457, film your phone in slow-mo in the ejection port, whatever magazine you're using, and see exactly what's happening. And if you're finding that instance, for one, mitigate the system and isolate it to either the magazine, try a different mag, buy a brand new mag, or readjust a metal follower like you can see here and see if that fixes your problem. You can see that this 5 round mag, the follower is different angle height versus the 10 or 15 rounder extended mags. Now, this is 3D printed. I've had good luck with this mag personally, but the other aftermarket mags, I haven't. I've had a lot of issues. And then what ends up happening is people go to install our Talon extractors and they're saying, I'm having ejection issues. Well, I mean, I have to work through what aftermarket parts they're using and what worn out parts they're using. A lot of time. I spend a lot of time, or have been lately. And I think I should just do a video on this and shed light. And this information that I'm sharing with you guys live, that is because I spoke to the engineers of CZ USA, the folks that have the blueprints, the folks that designed and developed the CZ. I spoke to them and spent hours on the phone. And what I'm sharing with you guys is a regurgitation of those facts. So you're more than welcome to fact check me. I always recommend that. Whatever I'm saying, definitely double check. Call them yourself. They are willing to talk to you guys. All right. Okay. My phone, I clicked off of it, sorry. Yeah, I don't want to overload you guys with a bunch of information. I mean, there's a lot to this. This is years of experience in building these things. Let me answer some questions that you may have. Yeah, John, did really, you guys should, and I always recommend to do so. You guys should always check out your weapon systems. Always check out, if this is something you're going to compete in. Again, I call this NRL 22 PRS. It's golf for men. And to compete at the top level, you got to make sure your tools are top shape and understanding your tools. You know, your tool is going to get you as far as you can, and hopefully you get to a point to where your tool is what's hindering the last few points to get you those last few points to get your opponent finish. And that's our goal. That's what I do. It's my job to give you the tool that isn't the factor of losing points. It is to get you those last few points. Building so many of these, I've built close to 3,000 CZs now, according to the books. That's what it's saying. I don't feel like I did. Maybe it seems like I have. I've experimented a lot. I asked the same questions you guys are asking. I wondered, why this, why that? What if I did this? What if I did that? I experimented a lot. I failed a lot building CZs, and I've learned a lot. And building these CZs, these little factors, these little things that I'm seeing over time, and degradation and quality control, especially right now with CZ USA, crap injection molded min parts, that they definitely need to fix that. I don't want to be the shop that continue supplying aftermarket parts to fix a manufacturer's product. I want to set the bar. That's the reason why we're coming out with this Genesis. I am going to help out our community as much as I can, but it's going to take away from giving out a better product. So my end goal is to get to a point to where I could produce something similar to a CZ. And I'm going to give you guys a hint. I got a lot of things coming up, especially with our Genesis action for you CZ guys, to get to a point to where I'm not fixing these manufacturer problems anymore. I'm not dealing with aftermarket parts and fixing their crap. You know, if they don't want to listen, and you could Google search this, guys. I'm not making this up. Google search it. Google search problems with bottom metals with certain manufacturers, and look at the Facebook forums and posts. I'm not making this up. This is a known problem, and this goes to an issue with outsourcing your product. When you go to outsource your product, you're relying on that manufacturer. You can't make these changes fast enough, you know, and that's the downside. So, like you guys hold me to a high standard. I really hope this community does the same thing to all manufacturers, is simply because we are paying a lot of money for these products to have issues. If we're having issues, we need to start voicing our opinion. We need to start voicing what we're seeing. And guys that have experience like I have, or still learning, I'm trying to stay humble here. I'm gonna speak up, and people get offended. Okay, my reasoning for speaking up is to get you guys a better product. If that's gonna entail me to go down the path of making my own product to provide for this community, that's what I'm going to do. So, if I have capability of doing so. But any knowledge that I acquire from my experience, I'm willing to share. You guys could call my shop, email me. I could further explain and go into detail any findings. There's many times where guys I've asked, and I've helped a lot of people where I give them a shipping label for their barreled action. It's not a rifle that I built. They send it in because they invested and bought a Talon extractor. I went through their whole system, broke it down like I just did here in this live chat, what I look into, and I got them up and running. And I'm happy to see those guys competing alongside with me, sometimes beating me in matches. But I'm happy to see them out in the field, and that's the goal. Yeah, vertical grip on one of your pistols. What are you talking about? Okay, I'm gonna ignore that. Obviously, he doesn't know I'm an FFL. I'm an FFL 07 manufacturer with an SOT license. I can build what the hell I want legally. So, and one more comment, and we'll see that guy. Bye bye. DBG4. Yeah, what's up, John D'Souza? That's right here, brother. Right there. DBG number 4. I'm gonna get that out to you. Yeah, we'll get that out to you pretty quick. So John is one of the in here in the chat. Glad to see him on here. Late too, by the way. I know where he's at. He's up here late. Thanks for joining, man. John has been one of the predecessors of and helped me. One of the key guys that has helped me develop this product from idea to changes of this product to testing of designs and further testing, and has spent a lot of time, his own time and ammunition, with the early revisions of a pre-production model of our Genesis Action. And I can't thank him enough. You guys, when you guys get this action in your hand and you really like it, one of the guys I want to ask you guys to applaud and thank is John D'Souza. He's on Sniper's Hide. He's also a really top competitor there in Texas. Him and Shane Ward are really top competitors. He's one of the key guys that has helped me get this product in the market, and got it here within a year. You guys got a product that's rolling out of our shop. We're asking patience, obviously, but got it in, got an idea to a working, functioning product to hopefully set the bar. It's my goal. In your guys' hands in less than a year. That's really unheard of, and unheard of from a shop like mine, as a mom and pop shop. Yes, sir. Yep, Shane. Yep. So Shane is the NRL 22. Is it 2024 season? Year 2024. He NRL 22 champion. Shane, his rifle too. So he's sent back his. He's one of the early revisions. Maybe one of these days I'll break it down, the changes that I went through and different ideas that I had to make this bolt operate. Ended up going back to the simplistic things, but I was able to implement this adjustable headspace lug, which Shane was another key component to all this. He's a team MDT shooter, a professional shooter, a very, very awesome dude also, and one of the main guys that has helped us get this product going. So, yep, PRS National Champion 2024. There we go. You can look him up, Shane Ward. Awesome dude. He Gravestone is the range that he goes to a lot. He's helped match direct those matches out there in Texas. Gosh, it was hot out there, but I remember those times on the railroad working that time of the year. I don't miss it. I don't know how you deal with that humidity, man. That sucked, but it was fun. Regardless, I had a fun time out there. But yeah, Shane's one of the key components. Him and John. They were the early revision key component guys that have got this action up and going. Have dedicated a lot of time, like I said, and it took a lot of persuasion, because I don't really trust people, man. I don't trust a lot of folks, and I just felt like compelled that these are the guys that are going to make it happen. So, okay, let's go with. Well, okay, I got a couple questions here I might have missed. Let me go back up just a little bit before ending the chat here. Come on, scroll up. There we go. Up button. Will your new ejector work with the aftermarket clips? Bill, sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding. If your aftermarket clips, are you talking about are you talking about if I come up with my own magazine? Let me know. Comment again. I don't want to pass your question up. Yeah, dude, John. Yeah, that was hot. My boys and my wife were there, and yeah, they were hating it. My wife always asks if it was, because I had opportunity when I was in the railroad to move out and go into supervision for BNSF Railway, like go up the chain that way in the corporate market. And I said, I don't want to be anywhere near Texas, corporate industry per se. I spent a lot of time actually building the railroad out there for BNSF Railway. We're talking years. And I was like, dude, I don't like Dallas at all. I always say, I was telling her that the freeways in Dallas, DFW, it's like a Hot Wheels track. Every time you drive out there, you don't know what freeway you're entering, what freeway you're getting off. It's like a Hot Wheels track. And it's good luck. Trust your navigation if it could get you there. But you got a lot of crazy drivers, and man, it wasn't my cup of tea. Suppressor. Oh, Idaho, you still got that 280, 280, yeah. Shoot, man. So there's a couple suppressors I'm playing with. Dude, it's funny how muzzle brakes are coming in conjunction with suppressors, because I've always said there's a market for having a muzzle brake in a suppressor. Now there is a gray area, because when you register a SOT suppressor NFA item, which we're hoping that's going to go away starting next year. I don't know if you guys are. I'm not up to date with the new rules, but I'm hoping that, suppose the last thing I heard is NFA items, taxation and all that are going to be reduced. But adding a muzzle brake to a suppressor increases the overall length of the registration of that NFA suppressor, and it's kind of a gray area. So I always wondered if that's okay. I know Dead Air as a manufacturer for suppressor has been doing that for a while and hasn't had any issues. And obviously there's aftermarket muzzle brakes for suppressors nowadays. I will recommend the Thunder Beast arms suppressors. It's the Ultra 7, Ultra 9. Ultra 9 is a 9-baffle design. It's obviously a longer suppressor, but the Thunder Beast arms suppressors are notorious for being some of the best, quietest suppressors, and they are offering those suppressors with muzzle brakes. So that's what I'm gonna recommend. Yeah, the T-back Magnus. There we go, John. See, he's in the same boat. He knows. Here's a guy with experience right here. He knows. So the Magnus and the Recoil X, those are great suppressors. Thunder Beast Arms Corporation. That's T-back. So if you're gonna buy a suppressor, that was my first suppressor that I bought. You know, it's a big investment. I said I'm going to go to what I know is the best that I experienced, and I went with a T-back suppressor, Ultra 7. That was my first suppressor. Obviously, being an SOT, we got a lot of suppressors, a lot of hush puppies. Oh, there we go. H&W still here. Okay, if you guys want a T-back arms, Thunder Beast Arms, he's a dealer for him. Contact H&W Precision. It's H&W Guns and Tactical if you look it up on Google. You'll know. You'll see that nice logo he has if you're on the right page. But yeah, he's on Instagram, and I see him all the time advertising those damn Magnus suppressors. I want a Magnus. I'm investing any of my available funds into tooling currently. So, all right. Yeah. So Idaho was here maybe was it a year or two ago? He shot that 8.6 Blackout suppressed bolt gun out of a Thompson Center Compass, TC Compass, a very cheap firearm, but I just made an 8.6 Blackout barrel for it, and that totally changed his mind. He's like, I want a suppressor and I want it now. I remember that day. We're shooting that 8.6 Blackout suppress with cast lead bullets, and those were thumpers, man. We're talking like a 4 or 5 second dwell time before you hear an impact. Like it was a 200 300 yards, but when it hit, man, it hit. You see the plates rock. That's a fun cartridge, man. Suppressed. So let me scroll up a little bit, just see if there's any questions. I'm probably going to end the live chat in about 7 minutes here. Okay. Tunas are fake. Okay. Yep. Answer the serial numbers. If I'm making silencers, no, that's a whole. I mean, getting into that field of making silencers, I mean that's a whole nother skill trait to learn. You're going to require very special equipment if you're going to do it right. Decimal equipment. You're going to need flow, way to see flow, basically. Smoke machines, airflow, all that stuff. I mean, that's getting into science rocket science stuff. I could do it. It's just, man, I don't have the time. I want to. Maybe one of these days. I don't know. Well, we'll see what God opens doors for us. Yeah, Cyborg. Kenny can do what he wants as long as Ashley says, yeah. She's the boss. If you guys ever call our company, we're open 10 o'clock to 5 Mountain Standard Time. So 10 to 1700 if you're military. 1700 Mountain Standard Time. Ashley is the owner. Yeah, she's the person you want to be on the phone with. If you're watching my live chat, you see how I am. I'm just straightforward, and people will get offended. So if you call in, you're like, I want you to build this and that, and I just say no. It's not to be offensive. It's there's a reason for it. I don't like building threaded CZ457s or threaded. Let's say threaded 22s in general. guys, there's a lot of questions that people call our shops and they're like, I want a rifle that does hunting and I also want to compete. See, that's where we draw the line, because our company and what I do, with precision in the name of it, is to give you guys the ultimate tool to excel in that sport. There is obviously a all-around gun that we could build, but if you wanted to perform the best in one specific style of shooting or competition or hunting, build it for that specifically. So if you're going to build a hunting gun and you want it lightweight, but you're questioning the accuracy, well, then you gotta weigh out the factors. Is it going to be better than a factory rifle if I could consider a little bit of sacrifice on the accuracy for the weight savings, or if I want a very precision tool, then we're going to have to build a heavy rifle. The rigidity in these barrels, these heavy contour barrels, aid in accuracy. There is no carbon fiber 22 barrel or carbon fiber 22 barrel that I know of that is going to produce consistent accuracy. And I've tried some really high-end carbon fiber barrels. There's something, just technology isn't there with carbon fiber to keep the rigidity and all that. But if you're going to build a rifle, build it for that specific style of shooting. If you're going to build an all-around gun, expect and know that you will have sacrifices in either accuracy, because weight does help you with accuracy, keep the rifle steady and sturdy on a barricade or whatever. And if you're trying to achieve an 8-pound rifle and say, I want this thing to shoot .2s at 50 meters and half-inch at 100, it ain't going to happen. I haven't seen it happen. Even the biathlon guns don't do that. So there's sacrifices that got to be made. And if you want accuracy, it's going to require a heavy rifle, a heavy barrel, traditional stainless steel barrel. How does the Genesis work with a 700 chassis? It is a 700 clone. It works with pretty much every chassis that I've tested with, all the big name brands. You can see them behind me: ACC Elite, MPA, BA Comp, BA Hybrid, Vision chassis. What else do I have? I got the crap Zermatt chassis up there, the Matterhorn, the super expensive crap ass chassis. I hate that chassis. I have it. It works in there. I've tried the KRG Bravo chassis. Those work really well. The MDT XRS, very affordable, $500 chassis. That chassis is awesome. If you guys are looking for a good overmolded stock, or kind of a hybrid between a chassis and a stock, the XRS, great option. What else have I tried? Vision chassis, not my cup of tea. I like the chassis. I just wish they get rid of that 3D printed pistol grip. That really upsets me. So what happened with me and my Vision chassis, because I have one, the pistol grip, being in Arizona, it melted on me. My pistol grip melted because it's 3D printed. Upsets me because they have really good machining capability. Obviously, they have 5-axis capability, but they chintz out on the damn pistol grip with a 3D printed pistol grip. Why? I have no clue. They could at least injection mold it. That's just my only gripe about that chassis. For the 700 footprint, it's a great chassis. I like it other than the pistol grip. The Wooks, yes, I have Wooks chassis. Thanks, babe. Oh, she's on here. HNT 26. There we go. She's, I'm out. Look at you guys. Don't underestimate Miss Ashley. She knows a lot, and she could run circles around a lot of guys' heads. If you guys call in and are questioning if she's capable of answering precision questions or anything, she builds these rifles along with me, and she will run circles around you respectfully versus I am. She knows these things. She builds them with me. She orders these parts. She knows what works. That girl is a blessing in my heart, and I'm glad to have her in this business, because I can't do this without her. But yeah, she knows a lot. Call her. If you talk to her, she'll give you some really, anything that I'm saying right now in this live chat, she'll say the same thing, because she's there with me building these things. So yep, Wooks chassis. Yeah, what else have I tried? They seem to work everywhere. So the difference about our action is that the back side, which is called the tang, we have a very large tang. It's called the Zermatt does the same thing. They got a medium. They got a medium tang. They got a shallow tang, and they got a large tang. So our action follows a large tang. It's a traditional 700 action. It will fit, and so far I haven't had issues. The only thing that I've noticed is, like, okay, for instance, this MDT ESS chassis, which is not really a super popular chassis. It's kind of narrow in the back where the tang is. The action body itself will overhang just a little bit. So aesthetically speaking, it's, there's a little bit of overhang, so it can run a little bit aesthetic issues if you don't like it. So that's about the only thing about my action that I've seen so far. It's a full-size action. It's a traditional full-size action, 1.35 diameter. A traditional 700 action is, and this is where they get their 700 name, the bolt raceway diameter is a .700. That's what my action body is. And the action body itself is a .135 diameter. So those are, we're following traditional 700 footprint measurements. Another thing too is our Genesis action isn't picky with the triggers. There is a somewhat of a standardized measurement for trigger pockets and trigger sear engagement. Bix and Andy is great for offering different sear heights. So for those don't know, Bix and Andy is the only trigger that I know of that is a serviceable trigger and also offers different sear heights to further get you the correct sear engagement for your actions. Luckily, our actions are not picky. Our actions utilize the factory medium sear height that Bix and Andy's does sell as normal. These things come in 2 dot, which is the medium height. You got the 1 dot, which is the low, and the 3 dot is the high. So when you buy a Bix and Andy trigger, they will come usually with a medium height. If you call companies like Bullet Central, they do offer different sears if you have an issue. But our action is good because I know how to build them. I consult specialists in this industry, and our geometry is correct where we're not having to be picky on triggers. Our action will work with Timony Hit. They'll work with a Trigger Tech Diamond, Trigger Tech Special. Some of the Rise Ornament triggers, the 700 triggers, some of the Geisley triggers I've tried as well. 700 triggers, they work, so they're not picky. Bix and Andy's, obviously, you guys see my videos. I run a Bix personally as of right now. The Bix trigger is my go-to. So, but yep, we'll end it here, guys. I think that was a pretty lengthy live chat. I really do appreciate it. There's a lot of information shared. Those that watched this video to the end, thank you. That's the least I could say is thank you for sticking out. We have really, really good followers. I appreciate everything, and we'll catch you guys on another live chat. We'll probably continue on. Obviously, I'm going to finish up this CZ, but on the next live chat or some other live chat we have coming up in the future, we'll build the barrel for the CZ. Nothing really different compared to the Genesis, but you've seen me machine this action live, and this is what I do. Do this for a living. I do this day in, day out, 7 days a week, and we are doing the best we can to keep up with orders, keep up with demand here, and hopefully you guys are understanding, kind of what we do. It does take time. It's a precision action. It's precision work, and it does take quite a bit of time. I'm not a shop that has high production. I'm a shop that has high quality. That's where I stand. So we're going to continue and not sacrificing quality. We're always going to give out the best quality, and it's going to reduce time frame. Luckily, with having our own products, specifically the Genesis action, we are going to control our production. We're going to be able to reduce time frames significantly. Our CZs and all that, we're always going to double check to make sure we can still keep up with demand. Our goal as of next year, early next year, is to reduce, if not eliminate, time frames. So we could be that shop that's able to produce high quality actions, and working with shops like H&W Guns and Tactical, thermal suppressors that are going to help aid in building the Genesis action barrels for them. You guys could call them as well, and they will produce the same amount of quality, if not better, and the same kind of customer service, if not better, than our shop. That is our standard, is our goal. So we'll work with shops. We're going to making some huge changes this year. I really think you guys are going to see a big change in this industry. I'm hoping you guys stick along, and you guys are going to see our shop really grow tremendous next year. We got a lot of things in mind. God is blessing our business greatly, and we're doing everything we can to ensure you guys are going to see a top quality competitor in this market. So we're transitioning great to becoming a manufacturer, not just a gun builder, but producing quality products that just work, that just fit and work in this community, and setting the bar. And hopefully what we do is going to help motivate and entice other manufacturers to get to that kind of quality standard, that we're not having to deal with these issues anymore. So join us, and I appreciate, like I said, you guys jumping on here and conversing with me live. Watch me get hosed down with coolant at one point. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys in the next live chat. Thanks for being awesome. You guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you in the next live chat.